Hey, everybody. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas and all of that other wonderful times that people are celebrating today. How is life for everybody out there? But more importantly, since I'm seeing him face to face, Zach, my friend, welcome back. How are we?
Hello. I am doing well. How about you?
I'm doing all right. It's freezing ass cold. A little colder here than it's where you're at, I think, right?
Yeah, you were making me feel kind of bad when I was sitting here complaining all day about like 25, and you're like, it's like negative 25 here. I'm like, ooh, guess I can't say too much.
My mom, most people that watch remember my mom moved in with me earlier this year, and she moved from Utah, and it's Utah. It's pretty damn cold there, and
hmm
she was used to the snow, but it is, I guess, kind of like average warmer there than here, and she has been bundled up basically since like August base. I don't know why, but today she was like, I keep looking at my phone, and every time I do, it goes down, and I don't like this. I think our high today was 7, and we hit 7 before 6 a.m.
Oh
It's
my God.
been going down the entire day. So, yeah, we are freezing. What's going on, everybody in chat? Antoine Holland Oates and Eric Johnson, John Peters, Brent Madison, Terry is here live. First off, I trying to get a little seasonal. I got a small strand of lights behind me, but it's the big Christmas show. I know there's a lot going on for a lot of people. If you're here live, thanks for hanging out. Otherwise, hope you could catch the replay. We're gonna have a fun conversation tonight. Zach and I, we were talking about what to do for Christmas, and one of the things that people that like the type of silly movies that Zach and I both like always bring up Christmas horror films. And I said, but that gets talked about a lot. Why don't we just make it broad and say best all around all holiday horrors? So we're going to be talking about the range of them. I'm gonna try to throw some curveballs in there, and I've got some honorable mentions because some of them I'm going to shoehorn in that aren't really holiday horrors, but I would like to celebrate that way.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more when we get to it, but I debated a lot on them, and I know I messaged you a little bit about it. It's like when does it count and when does it not? Like,
Right.
yeah.
I'll give a little insight. One of mine, I was writing these down, and I was like, Imprint. We're gonna go over their announcements right now. They announced like one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Could we say Jacob's Ladder is kind of like a Veterans Day horror movie?
I mean, it probably has more to do with the holiday than some actual holiday.
Right. So we're going to go over that after all of our announcements. Hope everybody is well. The other big thing to throw out, seems like everybody I know is getting sick. So if everybody out there is able, please stay healthy. It is crazy right now. I got people I know that have gotten 2 different types of infections at the same time. Respiratory infections are crazy right now. So yeah, take care of yourselves. And let's get into some announcements, because that's the exciting part. We were looking at a pretty short week, and all of a sudden today we got bombarded with a bunch of actual official information on some stuff. So it's a fairly average week now. First up on the docket is Imprint, and I don't remember if you and I have talked about Imprint before. Do you have anything from Imprint?
I have, is it 2? Yeah, I have 2 things from Imprint. I have Heart 8, which was the very first one, just so I could finish my PTA collection. And
Nice.
I have their Warriors box set.
I
want to get more. I really wanted the Wicker Man one, but it like came out at the worst possible time for me financially,
Right.
and now it's probably triple in price. But there's a few things in there I do want.
They are expensive, and that's the hard part, especially when you're on other corners of the world from Australia. I'm super jealous of all of the Aussie fans that get these like locally at JB Hi-Fi, and they're 20% off. And yeah, I understand we have a lot of deals, but a lot of the Imprint releases would be nice to get a discount on.
Especially because so much of it is stuff we don't have here, like
Right.
Straight Story, and I mean that's why I got Heart 8. I mean, they just put out a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, Imprint has it really impressed me with the way that they've done a lot of Blu-ray debuts. They were the first one that broke into Paramount. That was the big thing for them, is that they could get some of these catalog Paramount titles that nobody else ever could. And in fact, I think we have 2 or 3 just this week. So let's get into it. First up, from 1998, Return to Paradise. And I feel like I saw the TV cut of this movie forever ago. This is one of those where I know that I'm picturing some of the scenes, but I can't remember a dang thing about it. This is a twisted thriller of passion and betrayal, which tells me it was probably one of those very almost Skinamax titles that I always used to like at the end of the 90s and early 2000s. But the big thing on this one is the cast. We've got Vince Vaughn, Anne Heche, Joaquin Phoenix, Vera Farmiga in this, very young. And this one, we don't know much about the features. They're going to be announcing more, but what we do know, we got a new interview with the director, Joseph Rubin, and a new interview with the composer, Mark Mancina. And yeah, this is cool because I'm not even sure if we have a release of this year.
That doesn't look like, I don't know anything about this film. I like the cast though. I mean, haven't gotten much into these type of films. I love Basic Instinct though, so I guess I really should dig a little deeper in, but I haven't done it yet.
That, and then you gotta like check your pulse on Wild Things after you get those two.
Oh, I do like Wild Things. I watched that when I was a kid. Yeah.
And yeah, it's time to dive in. Very much time to dive in. Next up from Imprint, Georgia. This is with one of a lot of people's favorite all-time actress, and that's because she's pretty incredible in every single thing she does, and that is Jennifer Jason Leigh. She stars in this. This is from 1995, and just like I was just talking about, this is a worldwide debut on Blu-ray. This is not available anywhere else. And this is the story of two sisters, one who is talented, the other passionate, and the rivalry that binds them together. Sadie is a rebel who aspires to rock stardom, while her sister Georgia is a gifted and already successful musician. Sadie is unwilling to give up her dream, struggles to make a name for herself in the shadow of her talented sister. And the director of this also directed Straight Time. This is an independent 90s film which includes stellar performances from Jennifer Jason Leigh and Mare Winningham, who received a Best Supporting Role Oscar nom. And yeah, again, worldwide first. We got a new audio commentary by Brian Reisman and Max Every. You like Jennifer Jason Leigh at all?
I haven't watched a ton of what she's in. It's funny how many times I've probably read trivia like online about movies she was supposed to be in and somehow never got. That seems to be the most common link for her for me.
That makes sense.
I think I just was reading on Terminator. She was supposed to be in that and it didn't work out. And I'm like,
oh, interesting. Huh. I wonder what she was going to play. We were just talking about Terminator in the Discord the other day or yesterday, something like that. And man, those films are perfect. I cannot wait to show my wife those.
She hasn't seen them.
Never. She's never seen the first one or T2. So it's going to be a wild weekend here coming up.
I assume your wife has good taste and she'll think the first one's better.
I kind of hope so. I know that she felt that way about Alien, which is very much like a mirrored franchise where the first one is more of a horror slasher and the second one's more of an action sci-fi, and then nothing else exists after that.
I like Prometheus.
I still haven't seen Prometheus or Alien Covenant, actually. I gave up a while back, I think.
I can see why.
Terry says, I remember hearing great things about Georgia. Eric saw Georgia when it came out. Remember it being decent. No, my wife has never seen a single Terminator movie. That's something that we're going to have to tackle here soon. Maybe I'm going to have to do a watch through the entire franchise.
Gotta get ready for Genesis.
This is true. The one we just talked about a minute ago, March 29th, we are getting Jacob's Ladder from Imprint. And this is just an incredible movie all around. There's not a whole lot to be said about this that hasn't been said before. This has an audio commentary by the director, Adrian Lyne, building Jacob's Ladder featurette, 3 additional scenes with optional commentary. However, none of those are new. They've been on previous releases, but it does say that they're going to be confirming more special features later. And so far, when they say that, Imprint has always followed through. So I'm curious to see what they are able to get. I'd love to see an updated Tim Robbins interview on this film.
I'm curious, since you said this was one of your favorites, have you seen the remake that came out like a year or two ago? It may have been a little bit longer now.
I have not. I barely even heard about it. Like, it barely made a dent in pop culture, it seems. I did not seek it out, and I've heard nothing since then.
No, I didn't watch it either, but I can't imagine it's any good. Like, just, I don't know if you can do it twice.
Well, that and this seems like an odd film to remake because the stuff surrounding this film and what the whole PTSD aspect of it, it's really kind of a generational thing. And not that that hasn't happened in our generation, but the fear of it all, I guess, that was more of an unknown for the previous generation. A lot of people that are going to see films like this today, they're more open and honest about stuff like that. So I'm curious if it would even hit the same.
Yeah, because I mean, I think, yeah, like you mentioned, it's just at least more openly talked about than this was kind of, I guess, where it really started to open up a little bit more about it. Which is
Yeah,
Desert Storm, right?
well, it's about he was a Vietnam veteran, but it was
Oh, right.
happening during Desert Storm for sure. And really, just trying to think back to some of the statistics that I went through because I used to work at the VA. I believe around this time specifically is when they started to see a a, a a linkable surge to veteran suicide was around the late 80s. Obviously, there was a lot of it after Vietnam, but they couldn't necessarily say it was because of this. And of course, now knowing what we know now, of course it was because of that. But it's just kind of a very interesting transitional period because, again, just like you just said, Desert Storm, going from your parents having been in Vietnam and now you're potentially going into Desert Storm, that's got to be a hell of a thing to face after stories that you've heard and then just dealing with it every day. Yeah.
Oh, now I'm gonna have to watch Jacob's Ladder because I haven't seen it probably in like 10 years.
Right.
Didn't Studio Canal do a release of this, or am I insane? I feel like somebody did a release of Jacob's Ladder at some point. Because I don't think it's got a US release.
It has a studio blue, but it's nothing special at all.
Gotcha.
Jacob's Ladder. Let's see. Studio Canal. There's an Optimum in the UK. No Studio Canal.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, nothing. The French release is. Oh, the French release is Studio Canal.
Oh, okay. So I'm not. I don't know if I knew that or I guessed that, but we'll go with
But
it.
it's one of their just like standard edition blues. Interesting. Yeah, Jacob's Ladder's kind of always been ignored as a classic. So hopefully we get a decent release. This is actually one because of a lot of the frenetic scenes. The coloring would probably look really good in HDR if we were to ever get a 4K. Next up, I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. This is from 2003 and starring Clive Owen. Unfortunately, this is a tough week to talk about this. This is directed by Mike Hodges, who just passed away like 48 hours ago.
Man, were they able to get him like with an interview or anything beforehand on the specials, or did they not mention yet?
There is some old stuff with Mike Hodges, nothing new, unless some of the they say more special features to be confirmed. They might have gotten some new stuff, but for example, Arrow, James Flower, who still works at Arrow, tweeted that Mike Hodges had been able to see their restoration of Croupier and supposedly really loved it and was overjoyed with the reanalysis of some of his films and was happy to see that they were coming out again. So it's bittersweet, and Mike Hodges has done some really great work, obviously.
Yeah, it's good to get a release. It'd be nice if they were able to get something new with him before he passed, just to have it. But
that goes exactly with what I've said before on here, is that a lot of the people that are in or involved in the making of a lot of the films that we loved, it's about that time. A lot of them are getting older. A lot of them are getting sicker. A lot of them are, retiring and sticking out in the middle of nowhere where nobody can find them. And if you don't start getting some of those interviews now, we just may not hear from them again. And that's tough. Especially if you're somebody that did something amazing like Get Carter. I mean, that's just genuinely one of the best films of all time. I don't think I've ever seen this one. I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. This also has Jonathan Rhys-Meyers and Malcolm McDowell. This is a later film, obviously, from him, but on this we got a audio commentary by Mike Hodges and the writer Trevor Preston. There is a BBC documentary on the film, and then more special features to be confirmed. Now, not to take the somber moment and try to change the subject really quickly, but there was a very interesting happenstance when this got announced last week, and I was taking my sweet time after our show last Thursday. They announced these during probably the last 20 minutes of my show, and I went to post all the announcements, and when they sent out all of the information, this film had this picture and the title, but the actual synopsis that Imprint was sending out was for the film Freeway that Vinegar Syndrome just released. I reached out to Imprint and let them know, hey, there's a mistake on all. They even had this on their promo images. They have images where they put the cover and the synopsis and the features. It's not the one that I use here. They're really nice promo images. But I reached out and said, hey, just so you know, this is an error going on. And they went, oh, thank you so much. And they went and fixed everything. But that's very curious. Imprint might be releasing Freeway here soon.
Yeah, the only other thing I could even potentially think, if they're not releasing Freeway, they just for some reason use that as like a placeholder, which would be odd. But I mean, that's the only other explanation I could think of.
The fact that they used it on their promo image is what got to me the most, because like the first line is when Reese Witherspoon goes on, and it's just clearly Freeway, and they never even say the name Freeway. So if some like intern was putting the images together, he may not know. But yeah, it was very curious, and I we'll see what happens. What's going on, by Fur? Merry Christmas to you as well. Let's see. I think we got one or two more from Imprint. The House of the Spirits. The cast in this one, my goodness. This is from 1993 and stars Meryl Streep, Winona Ryder, Jeremy Irons, Glenn Close, Antonio Banderas, and Vanessa Redgrave even. This one is set in South America before the Second World War. The House of the Spirits is a hauntingly romantic epic tale spanning 3 generations of the Trueba family. At its core is the stormy yet passionate relationship between the supernaturally gifted Clara and her controlling husband Esteban, who resists change both politically and personally. This is a timeless story of secrets, seduction, revenge, and forgiveness. First off, they've got some archival interviews on here. We got more special features coming, but when they put this out and I read that synopsis, all I could think of, set in South America, and that cast I just read is very, very, very white. And then Trueba family, Jeremy Irons playing Esteban.
Product of its time.
Very much so. So I've not seen this one, I don't think, at least. This is from shortly before I started getting into any sort of film, even on TV. So I'm not sure if this was around when I was watching or not. This was 93.
Yeah, this is a year before I was born, so I have not seen it.
That makes sense. What's going on, Spaghetti? How are you? Hope the family's well and you're staying nice and warm in that nice 65-degree Phoenix weather. Little Buddha. This is coming from Imprint on March 29th as well. This is again from 1993. This is Keanu Reeves and Bridget Fonda. This is in a big American city. A boy and his family discover a story about a prince in a land of miracles, but the miracle becomes real when Tibetan monks appear, searching for their leader's reincarnation, who they believe have been reborn in the boy. Suddenly, their worlds meet, leading the Americans on an extraordinary adventure. I don't know anything about this, and that synopsis sounds just absolutely bonkers. I don't see how something with that synopsis would get greenlit, but I'm very curious to see how this movie is.
You know, just going through all of Imprint's titles, especially the last two, I swear they just have a list of things studios have said, yes, you can make this, and they just take a dartboard and say, that's the one this week.
That's a good call. This one gets a new audio commentary by Jim Hemphill, a new interview with the cinematographer Vittorio Storaro. There is a making of featurette, an interview with Jeremy Thomas, some vintage interviews, and they might be doing some more features, it looks like. So once again, a nice solid month from Imprint. I think that's the last one from them. Yeah, so Imprint, anything come out from Imprint recently that you're super interested in?
I don't know if it's come out yet, but I want that Walter Hill collection. I don't know when it's actually supposed to release.
Yeah, it got announced and then it got delayed. All of the production delays, they don't have a date on it yet. Unfortunately, it looks like, I mean, we're getting announcements for, what month was that? Was that March? Yeah, March. probably not until at least April at this point, unless they've got everything ready to go. And by now, the UK got that brand new release of The Driver that everybody's raving about. So
I was wondering if that had something to do with it. Maybe they could get a new scan for Driver, and that'd be great.
That, I mean, it would make sense if they could get the 4K in there and have everything else be Blu-ray. That would make the box set just a little bit better. The biggest thing I just got in, I wanted to show a pickup, their After Dark Neo-Noir Cinema Collection Volume 2. This has Blue Steel, Internal Affairs, The Crimson Rivers, The Way of the Gun, The Yards, and Narc. And oh man, I cannot wait to get into this one. I just so happen from the Tuesday night show we just did to have Volume 1 with me. And this was easily one of my favorites of the year. But to get 2 of these in a year, that is going to make voting and the shelf shock stuff very difficult. I'm probably not going to be able to get to all of Volume 2 before the voting cutoff, but oh my gosh, they do just incredible work on these box sets, so I can't wait to see it.
Noir fans have to be like broke at this point. Like how many companies are putting out Noir box sets now?
That's true. Thankfully, I'm not a super noir fan like the older ones, but man, neo noir, I would walk a few miles just to get a couple good box sets for neo noir for sure. Next up, we got Arrow releases, and Arrow is putting out Boyhood, the 2014 Richard Linklater film. The big difference, they are giving this a 4K. This is getting some new features. There's a new featurette featuring American poet and critic Dan Cheeson in conversation with his son Louis Cheeson about their shared love and connection to the film. A new visual essay by critic and filmmaker Scout Tafoya. There is a previously unheard interview with Richard Linklater by Rob Stone, who is the author of Walk, Don't Run. And then there's some older archival features as well. And then, of course, the classic Arrow style, a 60-page perfect bound collector's book featuring new writing on the film from a few people. Did you ever see Boyhood?
I have seen Boyhood.
What'd you think?
Like, I think it's a cool little gimmick. Like the whole, like we spent, I don't know how many, what was like a dozen years or whatever filming this movie. And it's like, you could have told the same story and just like casted 2 or 3 kids. Like, I think that's really neat. I think it's a cool experiment, but didn't really do much. It's not my type of movie, in all fairness. Right. I'm probably the worst person to ask.
I liked this movie until the complete lack of climax. I enjoyed the time gimmick. I was a fan of it, but I really loved the Before trilogy from Linklater first. So just his time stuff is always magical. But so watching this, I was happy with it, and then nothing happened at the end, and it didn't hit me in a way that I really wanted. And what sucks is I grew up like in the perfect time to feel a lot of the same things because I was around the age of the main character of the film when they were filming. And oh man, I really, really wanted Boyhood to be better than it was.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not the biggest Linklater fan. Like, I like the Before trilogy. I don't like love them. Right. And I feel like I'm gonna say like he did Dazed and Confused, and I'm like he's probably didn't, and I'm misremembering, but I think he did, right?
He has done like genuinely, he is one of my favorite directors of all time. He has done Dazed and Confused. He has done. What I love. The recent one that was like that. What is the name of it? Why can I not remember? I'm trying to look it up at the same time. Yeah, it is Everybody Wants Some. He did Everybody Wants Some. He did Bernie, the Jack Black kind of serious film.
I didn't know that was him, but I like that movie.
He did A Scanner Darkly. That was a big one for him. He did the Bad News Bears remake.
Really? Okay, sure.
And then through all of that, he did School of Rock in 2003.
That one's great. I didn't realize he did all that, so that's pretty cool. I don't know a whole lot about him. I mean, I hear Before trilogy a lot, and I think it's pretty good. I like the first 2 more than the third, but
yeah, he's got some classics. I mean, he even did. Let me pull that back up. He did Slacker back in 1990. He did Suburbia in 96. Waking Life in 2001. That's the big ones. And he's the kind of guy that is always working. So it's hard to figure out exactly what's going on with him. But man, he's done some great films.
Though I'm sure he doesn't stay as busy as Mike at this point, who I swear has taken a break
No.
in about 20 years.
No, the only problem is he does the time gimmick, so he's actually filming like 17 films at once, and Mike's finishing one in 8 days and then doing another one. Eric says, a friend of mine made the documentary Double Play about Linklater and James Benning. Interesting. Terry says, I enjoyed Boyhood in the theater, but have some reservations about watching it at home. That makes sense. Really want Waking Life on Blue? Of course. Griff has some feelings about Boyhood. I don't turn off many films. Boyhood was so not my jam, I had to shut it off. Was wasting my time. Oh, man. And I really want to hear the end of this story. John says, Boyhood, but make it Cat 3.
I would watch it. Error 4444, release it.
A time gimmick where somebody's getting tortured every 6 years. Oh, man. In the most surprising, possibly announced sequel in the last couple of years, Arrow announced 4 Film Noir Classics Volume 2. Speaking of noir fans eating well, the first one, I don't even remember when that first one got released, but this is coming on March 20th in the UK from Arrow, and it's going to have The Suspect from 1944, The Sleeping City from 1950, Thunder on the Hill from 51, and 6 Bridges to Cross in 55. There are commentaries on all of them, including one by Sam Deegan. New interviews with Alan K. Rode, where he takes a detailed look at the life and work of Robert Siodmak. Alexandra Heller-Nicholas has a visual essay on realism and reality in the Sleeping City. Some new appreciations, some visual essays, lots of great stuff, and of course a big book that has some writing in it, including Kat Ellinger, Philip Kemp, and John Towson. Lots of stuff in this box set.
I was actually, while you were talking, I was trying, can I remember when that, I'm going to look up when that box set came out. Was 3 years ago. It was when the first one came out.
I think that was the standard release.
GK 2017. You're correct. It was 2017.
2017, yeah. And if I remember right, I think that first one actually had the Arrow Academy logo on it, maybe?
Yes, it is Arrow Academy.
And now, of course, Arrow Academy does not even exist. So that'll probably piss some people off that really want their stuff to match up nicely. But yeah, this is wildly surprising. This is way out of left field for what Arrow has been doing over the last year. Not that that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. It shows that they're still interested in doing films like this. And as long as they're willing to be diverse, I think that will help them in the long run. And Arrow, they've done good, but this year has not, in my opinion, at least, not been a great one for Arrow.
Yeah, and I mean, I know a lot of people are disappointed when they kind of closed Arrow Academy, but I think in the UK, they just have so much of that covered. Like, you have Eureka, you have Indicator, Criterion does sell some in Region B. It's like, it's a lot of competition for what they do. So
it's very true.
Does it better.
Oh, yeah. Eureka has stepped up massively. Like, they've always done it better for the most part. But the last year and a half, when they put out the classics, Eureka puts so much love into them. I mean, the 4K of Dr. Caligari that we just got, the release of Vampire from this year, just astonishingly stunning sets. And
they've really stepped up their slipcover game, because I got the Old House when I went down to Orbit about a month ago. Great set. I mean, it's a standard set, but it's still like really well done for something that's standard.
That's true. Obviously, a lot of people unhappy that Eureka has focused a lot on Asian films in the last couple of years, but they've still stuck to their guns and done plenty of Masters of Cinema releases. So as long as they keep going, I get it. And I do understand keeping branding consistent for Arrow. That makes a lot more sense, I'm sure. Arrow is also releasing Black Sunday. This is coming in the US and Canada, not UK. This is coming on March 28th and stars Robert Shaw and also has Bruce Dern. And this one was released previously by Imprint fairly recently. This has the new audio commentary by Josh Nelson a new visual essay by Sergio Angelini exploring the film's adaptation and production, and then its place among the pantheon of 70s terrorism thrillers, which that actually sounds incredibly interesting to me. There's an hour-long portrait of John Frankenheimer from 2003, and there, of course, is going to be a booklet in the first pressing with new writing by Barry Forshaw.
I just want to note it's a cool. I've never seen this, but that's an awesome cover.
It is. This is much better than the imprint cover, and unfortunately, the imprint cover is just the standard theatrical poster. And it's not that it's bad necessarily, but this movie is a lot more. I don't necessarily want to use the word exciting, but it's more compelling than the original poster shared, and I think this is something that will draw you in quite a bit more.
I saw the comment from Spaghetti on the side about in time for the Super Bowl. I don't know. I'm sure it's more of a region thing, but I do think it's funny that a movie about American football didn't get a UK release, but it's in Canada and the US. So I don't know if that's the reason or it's just a region thing, but I just thought it was funny.
It's got to be a region thing, I'm sure.
Yeah. Like nobody in the UK will care. It's fine.
Yeah, no big deal. They don't like that kind of football. March 28th, we are getting in the US and Canada a release of Knockabout. This was previously released by Eureka in the UK. You're going to have two options. You have this newly commissioned artwork and then the original theatrical poster of Knockabout. If you want the original, you have to go to the Arrow site for the exclusive slip on this one. And it will have the reversible art on the inside in case you want to flip it. So you don't have to go for that slip unless you're dying to have it for some reason. And of course, this is one that is fairly well known for many fans of these martial arts films. And I remember right, I did not check as reading this right now, but yes, nothing brand new it looks like in this release. So if you have the Eureka release, you pretty much have everything on here already, because they even got the Frank Jang and Michael Worth commentary. They got the Mike Leader and Arnav Enema commentary on this one. They've got the deleted scenes, the archival interviews, and this looks pretty good. The only thing that's brand new, there's new writing by Simon Abrams in the booklet if you get that first pressing. But yeah, that's Knockabout. What do you think about Sammo Hung and Yuen Biao? And are you into martial arts films at all?
It is on I have like a list of things I want to focus on next year, and that's one of them. Like, especially with the Shaw Brothers sets coming out, I'm like, I need to get into this more so I can understand what any of it is.
There's too much coming out right now.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know if that's the best or worst time for me to get into it.
It's intimidating, but it's a good time to learn at least. Well, I'm curious now, what else is on the list for 23?
Well, I got that. I know I have a director's list. I wish I had it in front of me. I'm going to go through a lot of Howard Hawks stuff. That's nice. That's a big, like, I've watched a lot of Hawks, but he put out so much stuff.
Yeah.
And apparently a lot of it's good. So I know I want to do that. I have never seen 90% of the Godzilla films. So I was like, it's time to do that. Like Toho, it has been two of them. I've seen the original and I've seen the one about the Ghost Rose. It's Bio something. Those are the only two I know.
Godzilla's a tough one because some of them, obviously, they can be hard to find nowadays. And
yeah.
Unfortunately, because the Criterion release, and hopefully this isn't shocking because we're separated from the release a little more, but unfortunately that release wasn't like real great. A lot of people were fairly unhappy with the transfers, and obviously the packaging was kind of a cluster at the time and still is. But hopefully that we get a brand new release of a lot of those. And it seems like a lot of those production companies are more and more willing to open up to these boutiques nowadays. We're getting stuff from, the brand new label from Mono Macabro and Cauldron Films that's coming out from over there. We're getting more Toho and Toei films across a handful of labels. It would make more sense nowadays to get a better Godzilla release than Criterion had. And potentially that could be Arrow, actually, especially to go with their Gamera set.
I think it's interesting how Criterion decides on box sets, because I think almost all of them are atrocious, except for the only two I like are the Zatachi. I'm sure I mispronounced that. Even though
Zatoichi.
yeah, that one I like, and I like the Lone Wolf and the Cub one, and the rest of them like they are oversized or gaudy or something. But I was like, just have a consistent box set. It's fine.
I would agree with that. Can I reach it? Not quite. The Del Toro trilogy that they put out originally, and that god awful, just like the Citizen Kane packaging, where you have to do origami to get something out. I hate those things. And then the ones that, like, I don't have the Fellini box set, I don't have the Agnes Varda box set, and then I don't have the Bergman set anymore.
See, I want the Bergman set, but it's like, where am I going to put it? Like, right. I struggle to find where to put stuff now.
Exactly. What's going on, Mike? How we doing? Been a while. John says it's Godzilla versus Biolante.
Yes, I watched that. My guy I grew up with since like kindergarten. He's a huge Godzilla fan. Seen them all. And I think that was the first time that movie had been released in the U.S. And I had never seen a Godzilla film, and we were living together as roommates. And he was like, watch this with me, just see what you are. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why is there a ghost rose? And what does this have to do with anything? I was just baffled. I'm sure I would get it more now, but 10 years ago, I sure didn't.
This is, I didn't think Knockabout would lead to a discussion on Godzilla, but I love it. This is the perfect time to throw out there, if you are watching modern horror coming out recently, the star of the recently released From Arrow Santa film that, or I say Santa, but it's just overall a Christmas film. Gosh, how did I just have the title fall out of my head as I'm talking about that? The recently released The Leech, and also the one that just came out today, I think it's Scare Package 2. The star of those is Graham Skipper. Graham Skipper just in October released a wonderful overall view of Godzilla that was done in conjunction with Toho, and they worked with him to get all of the facts right, released all of the original art, did translations for him. You can look it up on Amazon, and it's very cheap, but it is like the ultimate guide to everything Godzilla, and it's amazing.
And I mean, there's just so much. It's nice to have that because there's just a stupid amount of information. I mean, we're talking about a franchise that's 70, 80 years old now.
Right. Yeah. Mike says the older Criterion Akira Kurosawa set is the size of a shoebox. My biggest so far. I don't even think I've seen that set in person, but that sounds awful.
Now, if it's too big for your collection and you want to sell it, I'll give you a good $20 for it.
At least it's worth your time. Joe Jack says, I was totally underwhelmed by the Criterion Godzilla box. I need the American dub versions. I get that. A lot of people grew up with those. Terry says, America Lost and Found is a great Criterion box set. Just wish it had a sturdier box. 100%. It is the perfect size. Just wish it had thicker cardboard.
Is that kind of like the John Cassavetes set? Is it where it has kind of like the thin ones that come out? Is it okay?
This one.
Yeah.
John says, didn't Toho hamstring Criterion? Supposedly, yes. I think they wouldn't allow any new restorations on anything, and they hadn't restored them in some time, and they just kind of, here you go. So I get it, but at the same time, Criterion fumbled a lot of stuff themselves that they chose. I mean, the packaging itself was atrocious.
Yeah, and I mean, it was, and yeah, they made such a big deal about 1,000, and it sounds great in theory that would be number 1,000. Like, oh, that's cool,
right?
Just probably didn't make the waves they were hoping it would.
Well, and what I don't understand, the best part of that release that was brand new was the art on the cover of the big coffee table book, and they didn't even release a poster for it. Like, this is the most striking Criterion art in a couple of years, and it's just relegated to your front of your Godzilla collection. Anyways, next up is The House That Screamed. This is coming in the UK, US, and Canada. This is from 1969. Important to point out, probably, for those that have some older Scream Factory releases, this was previously released, and this is probably the cover you recognized, because this is what was on the Scream Factory release. You can get this on a slip if you order from the Arrow site exclusively. This is a pretty decent film from what I remember. I saw this a few years back. I probably should watch it again. There is a brand new 2K restoration from the OCN that was done by Arrow, and they also have the 105-minute uncut version titled The Finishing School, and then the 94-minute US theatrical version that is called The House That Screamed. And thankfully, they're advertising things that other labels need to use more, which is seamless branching, where they both use the same portion of the file until they need to do a separate little cut there, and it saves space on the disc and keeps it so there's less compression. I wish more labels did that.
I'm guessing Arrows must be doing pretty well with their original art, because they have really made that their site exclusive, which I think is cool. I know a lot of people prefer original art. I just think it's interesting that they've pushed so hard on it.
Right. Griff, speaking about Criterion, says a lot of their non-plastic case packaging is kind of trash. I'm still salty about the Citizen Kane 4K and how hard it is to get the discs out. Right? I don't understand if you living in the time when that was released, if you're so excited the moment you get home to get that disc, you have to pull the top off, set it down, pull a flap off, pull a flap off, pull a flap off, pull a flap off, pull a thing out to get to the movie. Like, what? That's crazy. It's basically the puzzle box from Hellraiser. It's crazy.
It's almost like Criterion. They know they have this big release. We're talking about Godzilla, and then of course Citizen Kane is a huge deal for them. It was like, I don't know if it was their official first 4K, but it was definitely their first one announced.
Kane was, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like they fumble the whole thing and over-engineer everything when they know it's a big release. It's like people would have been happy with a Digipack, just like you did for Mulholland Drive. They would have been fine.
Yeah. And then it required a replacement disc on top of that.
Yeah, that's probably why they made you destroy it, so you couldn't return it, because it's so hard to get the disc out. They were like, we told you to destroy it. It's fine.
The House That Screamed, we are getting a previously unreleased interview with actor John Mulder Brown on that. There's a new commentary by Anna Bogetskaya. There is a new interview with Juan Tebar, the author of the original story. New interview with the director's son, Alejandro Ibanez. A new interview with Spanish horror expert Dr. Antonio Lazaro Ribol, discussing the history of the film and its director, and then some alt footage from the original theatrical version. Lots of stuff coming on this. This genuinely looks like a decent upgrade from the Scream Factory release. And the Scream Factory release, that's a question I probably should have looked up before coming on here, but that had to have been like 2015 that originally came out. The House That Screamed, 2016, so pretty close.
Is that when they were kind of doing more of that 1,000 or 2,000? That's all they're going to do. I know there was kind of a period where Scream Factory did it before I really got into them. Like Velvet Vampire had 1,000 copies of that.
This was not one of those. That kind of thing they've pretty much always done. That was also like what they do now, where pretty much every month they announce one or two site exclusives. That's only 1,500, and that's what Velvet Vampire was as well. You couldn't buy it in any stores, just from their site.
And thanks for that. That cost me more than I'll ever admit to get my copy of that.
I got very lucky with the Velvet Vampire, because they in classic Scream Factory history, they found a box in the warehouse and had 27 copies, and I was lucky enough to get one at just about retail.
Oh god. Yeah, I searched for the thing for months and had a hard time finding it.
John says the Citizen Kane 4K is a better puzzle than the new Hellraiser. Ice is here. What's going on, Ice? Next up. So that was it from Arrow. That is a decent month from them. It seems to be a little out of character from the rest of this year, but it seems to be like a changing of the guard time for Arrow as well. They're not as focused on horror necessarily, not so focused on Asian, but a mix of sort of everything, and that's probably a good place to be. And maybe they're finally getting a little back on track since COVID and Fran leaving. It seems like they might be a little more dependable again.
Losing Fran was big for them.
I think losing Fran was bigger than they were ready for it to be.
Yeah. Radiance looks cool, at least.
I can't wait to get my first release from them. I'm always excited about new label stuff. All right. This is a big deal for a lot of fans of this film, and we are able to order now from the Cauldron Films website or from Diabolic DVD the limited edition 4K of City of the Living Dead from Lucio Fulci from 1980. This is going to ship on or around March 29th. And just for those that may not want to spring so much on this release, because I believe it is $50. They are saying that next year there will be a standard edition of the 4K. Grateful every single day when when labels announce that. That's very important, I think, to be transparent with everybody. So what's new? What makes this worth it? First of all, second label in a row that is talking about seamless branching, and I really do want that to catch on, so I am going to highlight that again. But we do get Dolby Vision on this disc and HDR10 compatible, of course. English Mono 2.0 with optional English subs. The Italian Mono is on there as well. Then all of the new special features. We get a new commentary with Sam Deegan. The archival commentary from the Scorpion disc with Troy Howarth and Nathaniel Thompson is there. Archival commentary with Catriona McCall, moderated by Jay Slater, is also there. And then a fourth audio commentary on this disc, archival commentary with Giovanni Lombardo Radice, moderated by Caleb Waddell, and that is fantastic. Then the second disc is the exact same as that first disc, but a Blu-ray instead of a 4K. That Blu-ray is region locked. Disc 3, which is going to be region free and has all of the other bonus features. So if you are not in region A, basically everything in this is region free for you except for the Blu-ray of the film. So you got the 4K of the film, the 4 commentaries on disc 1, then you jump to disc 3 for all of these extra special features. We got interview with Massimo Antonello Galang, Requiem for Bob, an interview with Giovanni Lombardo Radice. On stage, Q&A with Valentino Verantini and Ruggero Diodato. Catriona McCall Q&A, Fabio Frizzi Q&A, the meat-munching movies of Gino De Rossi, Carlo of the Living Dead, an archival interview with actor Carlo De Mejo, trip through Bonaventure Cemetery, Catriona McCall, video intro from 2001, and then this sounds cool, more archival extras and surprises. So I'm hopeful to see that they got something crazy good there. But then they really fill this out with disc 4, which is a CD soundtrack, and this has a great soundtrack. If you have seen it, hopefully you know. This is wonderful. And then they even specified this has separate wallet packaging with embossed and gloss features on it. Note the packaging is about the same size as a Blu-ray case, and that is exclusive to the limited edition. And then they're going above and beyond. So the limited edition will have a reversible wrap with alternate art, a sticker sheet featuring illustrations by Johnny Ryan, a poster that is folded double-sided featuring new and vintage artwork, and then it will have a high-quality slipcase with emboss and gloss on it. It will be spine number 11 with artwork by Robert Samelin, and this is the artwork here. And for those that aren't aware, you can buy a screen print of this poster art, which in my opinion is some of the best art that we've seen revealed this entire year. I love this poster, and you can get that on outpost512.com.
Well, I was sitting here wondering. I knew I was getting some money for Christmas, and I'm like, what am I going to spend it on? And it's probably going to be this. I've never bought from Cauldron, so this would be the first one.
Wow.
Yeah, the first one.
This is supposedly selling very well. They were going to cut off the limited edition sales for a little while, but it is going so quickly that they said, we're just going to open it up, and it is available now until New Year's or until it sells out, which they said it looks like it's probably going to be the latter.
Okay. That gives me a couple days.
Yeah, I would imagine that you got at least until the 28th or 29th. This is, first of all, Fulci. I'm assuming you've seen this at some point.
No, I've actually been going through Fulci as these boutiques have been putting them out. I've just been blind buying all of them, which is probably a terrible, terrible decision from what I've heard about the inconsistent nature of Fulci. But I've enjoyed it so far.
Fulci is great. Franco's the hard one to do the blind buying with.
Yeah, but I've already got all the Blue Underground 4K, so I've just got to do it now.
Fulci, in my opinion, is one of the best. Pretty much, knowing your taste somewhat, I think that you are going to love a lot of the Fulci stuff, and this one especially is infamous for quite a few different things. And one of the scenes in this unless you know the details going into it, it's a little less striking when watching it. There is a scene in a car, and a female who is going through some stuff. She starts to vomit, and her organs are being vomited. And Fulci had her put actual like goat organs or pig organs or something in her mouth, and they started pulling them out, and it is such an incredible effect. And then after they do that for a minute, they switch to a dummy, and you can tell that it's different. But oh my gosh, this is fantastic. The hard part, this has had like 35 releases over the years. This is one of like the most exploited Italian titles for physical media, at least ever. Dark Force put this out on a double feature Blu-ray. Scorpion put this out on Blu-ray. Arrow put this out as a limited edition Blu-ray in the UK. Cauldron has it now. There are all kinds of releases of this film, but it is amazing.
You know, it's kind of funny. I always love hearing Fulci stories because, I mean, about every film he's got has them. And you always hear stories about how, like, people like Mel Gibson and people like James Cameron are insane. And then you hear Fulci and you're like, they haven't quite got there yet. Like, that's true insanity. I'm going to make this dude fight a shark. Like, so you do that.
Right. Let's see. We got some new comments. I'm back. Stan Geezy's here. What's going on, my friend? Hello, Stan. Brian made it. Hello. He says, can't wait. This is my favorite Fulci. Joe Jack says, what's the Cauldron slip quality like? Can I reach one? Not quite. If you have one, I would say it's fairly comparable to an imprint. Cauldron is pretty good, but it is one of these side loading cases, and they're not thick like Arrow hard box cardboard, but pliable at least.
This is a hard 8 one, so
yeah, so somewhat similar to that, and it looks very similar to those. It's the exact same setup. It's nice. It's got a little thumb cutout on the side. Their slip cases are pretty well done. Ice likes the art. John says, I want that new Sam Deacon commentary, but that Scorpion release was really, really good. It was. And for those that are trepidatious about upgrading on this, I completely get it. I obviously don't feel pressure to upgrade unless this is maybe like one of your favorites and you really want to. The hard part, again, like I said, this has had many releases, and the Scorpion was great, but Jesse and Brian have come out and said, just so you know, we were very meticulous about this restoration and wanted to do the best for everybody so that you could watch this and feel like there's an actual 4K upgrade here. And I do think that this is going to be an incredible release. Perhaps that means if you've already got the Scorpion, maybe you get the standard later on and let the limited edition go by, or just wait till there's a big sale, because I'm sure they're going to sell these for a couple years at least. You know, there'll be another Cauldron sale at some point.
Yeah, maybe that's what. Maybe after this, I'll have another label to spend a bunch of money on, and I can get them at sales.
There you go.
It's usually how it goes.
Cam's here. What's going on? Couch Odyssey says stickers. Yes, stickers. And I'm going to zoom in here because they've got a little picture of it. And I mean, oops. It won't stay centered. Oh, well. They're pretty good. For a film like this, they're silly, but a lot of the stuff surrounding this film is kind of silly, and I'm into it. I'm like, there's actually a picture of her puking up the organs. That's fantastic. I love this movie. Let's see. Joe Jack says it was on Tubi, so somebody might be able to watch it first. Justin, love this movie, but it's hard to spend this much on an upgrade. Completely get that. Let's see. Nowadays, that effect would be CG. Long live Fulci. Completely agree. Oh, Blue Underground. They did have this. Was that DVD or was that Blu-ray? That was a long time ago.
I'm actually kind of surprised this isn't theirs, just because what is this, 3 Fulci for them so far on 4K?
For
House by the
gosh.
Cemetery, New York Ripper, and Zombie, I think.
Yeah, they've done 3. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've hit Fulci and Franco pretty hard on 4K. Let's see. Ash, is Creepshow season 3 worth picking up? I don't remember if I've seen anything from Creepshow season 3, but I just so happen to have. I just got this in. I will be taking a look at this. Once again, they went with the embossed slip on this, which for just a Shudder show is pretty damn impressive. Let's see. This season, they had Ethan Embry, James Remar, King Batch, Jonathan Shake, Reed Scott, Michael Rooker, Mark Hamill, Danielle Harris, Ron Livingston, Andy Daly, and yeah, this looks decent. I think it's going to be like other Creepshow seasons, though, where there's a few that are duds and a few that are pretty good. Let's see. The guy in that car scene is Michael Suave, Johnny Ryan Rules. Nice. Stan Geezy all in on this one. And John said Blue Underground put it out on DVD and Blu-ray. Crazy. So this has had 1, 2, 3. This will be the 4th Blu-ray release in the US alone. At least. There might even be more. Let's see. I'm going to look up Gates of Hell, because it's also known as Gates of Hell, and I don't think we've said that even once. Gates of Hell. So that got a release from Dark Force in 2020, from Scorpion in 2020. From Blue Underground in 2010. That was an early Blu-ray from them. That's, man. Yeah, there's a lot there. Ash wants to know, do you think Pieces from 82 or Black Sunday from 60 will come out on 4K? I would say it is almost 100% a guarantee that Pieces will probably come out on 4K. And
I wonder if Grindhouse still have the rights to that.
I would think so, because I don't think anybody has put out Pieces in the US other than them.
There's one that has it. I don't know if you remember the horror subscription loot box.
Yeah.
Used to come in. They had a copy as an exclusive from them.
Yeah, I don't know how they got that, but yeah, I totally forgot they did that.
Yeah, it's the only other one I can think of, but that would be great. Black Sunday would be cool, though. I got the my brag is having that Mario Bava Arrow set, so I really don't
got
want
it too.
Upgrade it.
I can't reach it. Yeah, I love that set. It is beautiful. And the hard part, supposedly the Bava estate or whatever, they're looking to charge a lot more, which is why the Kinos went out of print, and we may not get Bava titles for a bit, if that's
because we know we would have got 4K from Kino and like.
Oh yeah. With how many of those Bava titles they put out, and they double dipped on Bava themselves, because they did the AIP versions and the other versions. So, yeah, that you know they would have done it. Let's see what's next. We spent a lot of time on that one. All right, Vinegar Syndrome Week is coming. I don't recall. Are you too deep into Vinegar Syndrome yet?
I get my Vinegar Syndrome, but I will probably never be a subscriber. I just can't ever justify it to myself. It's a great setup. I'm glad Radiant seems to be doing a similar thing, so I think that's cool, but I can't do it.
I get it. There is a lot to unpack here, first of all. Vinegar Syndrome announced details on Subscriber Week, including a new sub-label that they are calling VSL. So again, this is a lot of info. We're gonna try to get as deep into this as we can. The first 7 days of the new year will be a celebration of all things Vinegar Syndrome to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the label. They are offering subscriptions during the 7-day period, along with all kinds of other goodies and deals. The annual subscriptions are a single purchase, and we expect the prices to be around $9.80 if you're in the US, $10.60 if you're in Canada, and $11.50 if you are international. On top of that, current subscribers that are subscribers for 2022, they did say we'll get a coupon for $70 off. So if If this price holds, it looks like your cost would be about $9.10, which I think is a lot cheaper than a lot of people were expecting.
Yeah, I was thinking, I was like, I don't think they'll quite go over 1,000 for the US, but I was like, it will be close. It will be very close.
They were $960 last year, and
Yeah.
prices have been creeping up for everybody. So I'm curious if either this will be a huge incentive to subscribe this year, or maybe they're going to be putting out less on the actual Vinegar Syndrome line than in recent years, and shifting some of those titles to other of their sub labels. We'll see. I don't actually expect that they will be shifting it. I do think that they're going to keep the number fairly even across the board compared to recent years, and just really try to get people to subscribe.
Yeah, I mean, I try to. There's been years I've tried to justify this to myself. I was like, titles I don't care about. I can probably make my money back, and by the time I get to the end of the year, it'd probably break it even, or maybe even make a little. But it's like hurts my feelings just
Right.
to think about it.
So the festivities will kick off exactly at 12:01 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, January 1st, and continue through Saturday, January 7th at midnight Eastern. New products will be added to the site every single day at 12:01 p.m. Eastern, which means Vinegar Syndrome continues their absolute dominance of marketing. I don't think anybody else ever comes anywhere close to what they're able to do, but now they will have news about their website online, and everybody will be talking about them for 7 days straight without stopping, which is crazy. That for any of these labels, this is crazy. They will also have a special section featuring 10 products that will be discounted to $10 each, refreshed every single day at 12:01 p.m. Eastern. This will include all types of releases. It will be first come, first served. One of the other things they said is when they said it will include all types of releases, that includes VSUs, VSPs, and limited editions as well. And what that probably means is they're going to get a surge of people to their website every single day at 12:01, and a couple of those 10 are probably going to be fairly expensive, like box sets or VSUs, something big, and they're only going to have a handful of those available at that $10 price, and then they'll jump right back to full price, and it will be a mad dash for people to try to get those as fast as they possibly can.
And I'd usually worry because I know I've seen so many site crashes, but credit to them, I think they've always prepared pretty well for that. There's going to be a big fluctuation.
The last time the Vinegar Syndrome site crashed was before they got this popular, and it was in either 2015 or 2016. I can't remember. It was one of those 2 years, the Black Friday sale, and it didn't stay down even like 3 minutes. It was just there was some bugginess basically. Let's see. They are going to be enabling their free add to my existing order during the 7-day period, which means if you buy something on that first day, you don't have to worry about paying shipping on any of the other days. That is pretty dang good.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they've at least justified their cost. Like that's one thing I'll give them a ton of credit for. Like just going through it, it's like this. They're evolving what the subscription is, which I think is really cool.
I agree there. Let's see the schedule. Now, this is where it gets super interesting. So January 1st is obviously going to be the biggest day. This is where they turn the site back on in full. Everything's available. Here you go. So on that day at noon, we are getting 4 regular Vinegar Syndrome titles, a VSU, and 9 partner label releases, all revealed right then. January 2nd, we are getting a VSA. January 3rd, we are getting our first VSL, and we'll talk about that more in just a minute. January 4th, we're getting a Peakorama release. January 5th will be Merch Day. January 6th, we get our second VSL. And then on January 7th, we get our second VSA of the week. And that's jam-packed. I mean, overall, if you're counting the partner labels, which obviously they're completely different labels, they are under OCN, but only really for distribution. They run their own everything. If you count those, we are getting a total of 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 releases in 7 days from OCN.
So what are you thinking the new label is going to be more like, from what you can gather? Because I couldn't really gather anything of what would be an example of it.
Well, let's talk about it. So they defined it on their email, and it says this: Vinegar Syndrome Labs is VSL. As with each of our sublabels, we are hoping to expand and defy expectations with the diversity of films we restore and release. As the name implies, VSL will serve as a kind of testing area for releasing genres and eras of film that one might not immediately expect to come from VS. These films released under VSL will still satisfy and intrigue more adventurous fans of genre cinema, with the first couple, both dropping during this first week, being of the horror and fantasy variety, though from a time and place we've never before explored. The ultimate objective of VSL will be to see if these types of films will find an audience, and if so, pursue and release more of them, and even if not, still serve as a means of restoring more of the weird, rare, and unusual movies you might not expect from VS.
So like Arrow Academy.
Yes.
That's all I can gather.
The hard part is they said a similar thing when they announced VSU. The only difference being it would have this crazy 4K box, whatever, and it was going to be in actually 4K. So with these not being 4K that we know of, not guaranteed to be 4K, is that just a way to get away from that other sub-labeling? Because this just seems odd. Like, you've already got VSAs, which you are supposedly for the titles that did well at the video stores in like the 80s and 90s. But even those, we got a VSA from, I think, the 60s was the Santo film.
Yeah.
So we're falling apart from what that was at the very beginning. With VSUs, they're supposed to be 4K and things that VS would not normally put out. So far, that kind of checks out. Roadhouse, Cloak and Dagger, Six String Samurai, and then Beastmaster. All of those, they're a little odd compared to the other VS titles, so I get how you would say that those are different.
Which the VSUs have kind of been like a mix and sellers, right? Like, I feel like Beastmaster sold out quickly. I believe Roadhouse has done decent. But I feel like, I haven't checked in a while, but I feel like Six String Samurai is still available, like, completely. And I'm wondering if it's just having a difficulty selling them.
Well, I don't necessarily think that's the case, but I think Six String Samurai is easily the worst of the VSU so far. But on top of that, it doesn't feel like the others, even though they're not like themed or tied together or anything. It definitely feels like the odd man out when compared to all of them.
Yeah, because especially with like Beastmaster and Roadhouse, they were well-established titles before Vinegar Syndrome got it, and Six String Samurai isn't. Like,
well, and so is Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger was a huge film.
Yeah.
So we have Labs, and now the question, it says from eras or places we might not have. So all this says is it will probably be very old films or very new films, and probably a lot of international films.
Now, it would be kind of cool for them to do like old stag films for their Peaky Rama stuff, just like stuff that wouldn't sell, but that's kind of still on brand for them.
A bit, yes. It might feel a little more AGFA. And
yeah, that's true too. Yeah,
AGFA has a lot of those titles already.
Yeah,
through the Something Weird catalog. That doesn't mean they can't, though, obviously. But it's odd. I think that I could see something like the old Mexican horror films, like Imprint was putting out, the ones from the 1920s. I could see that,
like Casa La. What was that? What's that old label called? That old DVD label.
Casa Negra.
That's it. Yeah.
That was a line that Synapse actually put out.
Okay.
They, I guess this is as good a time as any to announce this. Great segue. Thanks, Zach.
No problem.
Tomorrow morning at 12:15 Eastern. I guess that's not morning, but noon Eastern in just trying to break up the monotony of this week for everybody. I've got a long conversation with Synapse coming out, and we actually talk about the Casa Negra line. That was perfect. He tells us the story about how he got those and why we will never see those on Blu-ray from Synapse. So yeah, it could be something like that. It could be something like that old La Llorona film that Imprint put out. It could be brand new films. There are a lot of really good modern international horror films that could fit this first one that they're putting out that I would be excited to see. I mean, obviously we're getting great releases of a lot of the more popular ones, like The Sadness that came out this year. That made a lot of waves. It got a German 4K media book and steelbook. It got a Blu-ray release from RLJE. I could have seen that being a title that would have fit this very well.
Yeah, and I mean, I think of films every year. This will be a sort of a tangent, but I'll get back to it. Like, Skin of Marnet came out this year, and of course ended up making waves through a lot of people pirating it. And then you see films like, which is great for it. I'm glad it's getting like a theater release and everything, but it was going to end up on Tubi before any day. But that's happened to a lot of films like Laplace Demon in 2017, November in 2019, and History of the Occult, which is finally getting a Screenbox release this year after it's been like waiting for 2 or 3 years to even get a decent release. It would be cool to see more of that stuff get a little bit just from international standpoints for sure.
There are certain titles that have gotten big primarily through Shudder over the last handful of years that would be perfect for a line like this, but that's where I don't know. That's where I start to worry a little bit. Oh man, I just noticed literally right in front of me, I happen to have a Casa Negra title. There's Brainiac.
Oh man, they had some cool covers too.
Yeah, the like Tigers Are Not Afraid was a wonderful film that came out of Mexico and did very well on Shudder and got an RLJE. I think it got a steelbook release. Yep. So something like that is what this sounds like to me. Either something brand new and international, or something older and international. And obviously, it doesn't have to be both. It could be from the U.S. and it could be old or brand new. But this is just an odd way to say, essentially, like, well, we painted ourselves into a bubble and now we can release anything.
Yeah, and I mean, this is something it gets brought up with Criterion, or not as much Arrow. Arrow's kind of broken that a little bit, but it's like opening it up more for more people sounds like a good thing, but then you kind of alienate the people who have been there forever. In a sense, like, I don't know if it's fair to say that, but it feels that way, because I hear it all the time when like Criterion releases Parasite. They're like, what does that have to, like, that already has a major release,
right?
What's the point? And I don't know if there's a good answer for that, if they should or shouldn't do it, but it's definitely going to be something in a conversation. I think it even came up with Beastmaster. Like, it's like, that was a title that needed an upgrade, but it's like, does it fit Vinegar Syndrome to it?
Right. I agree there. This one, obviously there's a lot that we could do to speculate here, and we'll know a little more next week, but at the same time, like with what I just said, this basically says they could release anything under VSL and say, yeah, but we said what we said. It could be from other places or other times. So we'll see. Griff says the picture on the screen is from a title called El Violador Infernal, and I believe it's Infernal Rapist, and YouTube censored it for him. I had heard that, and that would not surprise me if that was one of the titles that was coming as the VSL.
More Mexican and Latin American horror would be awesome anyway, so I'm all for it if they do that.
A lot of that stuff is great and does not get enough attention. I have been sorely, completely ignoring chat since we started talking about this. So let's get some opinions on this. Joe Jack, the VSL line is completely mystifying. Did they see the cash the partner labels were bringing in and decided they want some? I mean, it's OCN, which is wholly tied to Vinegar Syndrome, so I don't necessarily think that's the case. I don't think this is a greed pull necessarily, other than you could call greed because this will be something that subscribers will get a discount for and they will have to pay extra for. So it allows them to release more films by not having it under the Vinegar Syndrome label. Could be a part of it. Magic Hands, what's going on? Griff says, I'm wondering if any more invisible slips will surface this week as well. That would be something that would not surprise me. That could show up as $10.
Also, I need to sell this before that happens. Got it. Cool. I can do that.
Eric says Vinegar Syndrome cost for 2022. Okay, so I was off a little bit. It was $9.25 without the discount instead of $9.60.
You might have been thinking of $8.60 if it's a $70 discount.
That makes sense. Yeah. Joe Jack, so you're thinking it will be a limited number of random titles for $10. I figured it would be the bad sellers. With the way that they worded the email, it's going to be a little mix of everything. So I think it'll probably be a handful of bad sellers every day with a handful of things to entice people so that they go to social media and brag that they got something for super cheap so that more people show up to the site the next day.
Yeah, I agree with that because I think it looks bad on them if it's just stuff they've had 800 or 900 copies of for 2 or 3 years.
Right. Or
like,
if it's,
okay, you gotta open up the warehouse a little bit. We got it.
If it's 10 new titles that are on sale during their halfway sales and the Black Friday sales for $12 and now it's 10, nobody's going to be happy with that.
Yeah.
Antoine said Sidekicks 4K. This is basically confirmed to be coming, the Chuck Norris film Sidekicks. This was leaked by, I don't remember the website, but some other website said that Vinegar Syndrome was doing this. And I think they mentioned one other title as well. But for the VSL, I don't think it fits that. That could be, though, the VSU that we're getting. So we've known about Sidekicks for like 6 months. And with the way that they lead up to things, that is probably about the time that some other website may have found out about this through special features production or something. So, yeah, VSU very well could be Sidekicks. Griff says, kind of feels like they are jumping the shark with the sublabels. I've heard that from a lot of people. Joe Jack feels the same as me at the moment. The VSA brand is meaningless. The only thing, they've kept the packaging the same for the entire thing. But other than that, they don't seem to know what they want to put out on that line at all. Griff says, people seem to either love or hate Six String. Anything with kids gets a mixed reaction with the Vincent crowd. 100% agree. It's odd that Six String was looked down on and then Cloak and Dagger was treated wonderfully. However, I do understand I do understand liking Cloak and Dagger, but not Six String Samurai because they're very different. But yeah, Six String did not go over very well with most people, it seems like.
I think Six String would have done better if it wasn't their second one. Like Beastmaster was a good start, and I think if you do Cloak and Dagger second, and then maybe one other, and then Six String, I think it goes over better. It's just like, oh, then what are we getting with these titles?
It's kind of a double-edged sword because if they lead off with 3 bangers and then put out Six String, everybody's be like, well, our expectations were super high.
That's true too. Yeah, I don't know if you win there.
That's true. Justin, they've released newer films, though, like the VSPs. Got to be older films. Now, the VSPs are very specific that they had a hand in the production, though. That's the only way that we got that. And that's why I don't think we're going to get many VSPs unless they are doing stuff behind the scenes that we know nothing about. Like, I could see possibly them getting away with some things. Like, obviously, New York Ninja was a huge undertaking, and they did a lot of that silently. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we get many more of those. GK, big issue with VSU is they never say the print run on the limited editions till after they sell out. I believe all of the VSUs so far have been, is it 10,000 or 12,000? One of the, or no, VSUs are 10,000. Rad was 12,000.
Because I think that's,
yeah, and Rad was supposedly like the test before they did VSUs because they were considering making that the first VSU. And they did that for 12,000. Then it sold like crazy. They said, "Well, if people will sell this, buy this under the Vinegar Syndrome line, we could break it out and do some crazy packaging and make it VSUs." Joe Jack, I wouldn't be surprised if VS takes a page from Scream Factory and begins doing releases with limited runs designed to maximize FOMO. I mean, they're already doing that, literally. They're just higher runs because they're more popular than Scream Factory nowadays.
The one thing I will always give credit for Vinegar Syndrome, though, is I can always check how many are left.
Right.
Like that's the big difference. So if I sit there and they're like, we only have 1,000 copies, and I go there and there's 700 left, I'm like, I can wait. We're good.
And obviously, we're seeing huge numbers on these print runs. We're seeing, like I just said, Rad was 12,000. A lot of these that are getting announced with like 8,000 print runs. People are forgetting that in 2019 and early 2020, that was not the case. It took a global pandemic and global sickness keeping people at home to make them more popular, which led to them saying, we're going to react to that and print more limited runs. And I think that's a good thing. More people being able to get on the limited edition is not a bad thing for anybody, unless you're a scalper. There's nothing wrong with that.
You know, it still blows my mind though that we're talking like 10 and 12 as big numbers, and I found a 10 Commandments Blu-ray, really nice set they put out, and it was like number 17,000 out of 100,000, and I'm like, Jesus, that's a limited edition. I was like, I bet Sony's not printing 100,000 of some of their like titles.
Probably not. Let's see. Terry says the tricky part about newer titles is that it would need to be done on film unless VSL is going to break from Vinegar Syndrome's mission. Well, that's the thing. Because it's a sub-label, they can break it to do whatever they want, basically. They could say this is something out of the norm, and we just wanted to test it in our lab to see if people would want it. Let's see. Stan says the suspense is killing me. The Mexican movie was on the January release rundown during Black Friday. Okay. So that will probably not be the VSL then. I forgot about that rundown. That's right. Thank you, Justin. Griff says it might also be merch, but if bad sellers, I bet Beware Children to Play will be one of them. Weren't Censor and Scary of 61st VSPs, did they actually produce those? Supposedly they helped with some part on them somehow.
Scary of 61st feels very Vinegar Syndrome, so that one I understand.
Yeah. That movie was a trip. I tried to give that one. I watched it all the way through and went, I feel like that wasn't made for me, and started it again and went, nope, confirmed. This was not made for me. Like I can respect what they're doing, but oh my gosh, I do not like this.
I always tell people, is like, if you really wanted like double feature something kind of crazy, watch that and Dash Cam from this year.
Oh,
they are both kind of in that same wheelhouse for me. I like both of them, but just because they're so out there, like they're completely out there.
And that raises, I know we've talked about it in the Discord. I think we've talked about it on the channel a couple times too, is with movies, do we need the main character to be likable?
I don't think so. I don't think you need to. I think as long as they're compelling. I think compelling is the key word.
I think it's, I think there's an argument to be made for both sides, because I agree with you on the compelling part, but I think certain people, if they're going to be unlikable, will be upset if they don't get a comeuppance at the end.
Yeah, I can see that. I think it just depends on how like the film sets it up. So if it's, you know, if it feels like, okay, they're going to get what they deserve at the end, and then it doesn't, yeah, that's a little cheap. That you're kind of just cheaping it out. But if I don't think if it sets itself up that way, like the example I'll use is There Will Be Blood. Like, I guess you can kind of argue he does, but at the end of the day, he gets most of what he wants.
He's still a mogul, yeah.
Yeah, and that movie's still awesome. Like, and so I think it just depends on how they go about it.
Yeah, it's interesting, and the only reason I bring it up again, obviously, because we started talking about Dashcam, which a lot of people made this argument with because of that. But I also read there was some big article or Twitter thread or something that was going around this week for somebody that said, here are like 10 steps to smart filmmaking, and the very first one says your main character must be likable. And I just stopped reading and went, no, like this is not the case. There's so many other ways that you can make a story compelling with somebody being likable, being not the star.
Yeah, and I just don't, and you know, it's always I understand why these articles exist, but it's like, there is not a formula to make film. Like, there are no rules to film.
Exactly. And if there was, film would be boring as hell.
And everybody would have figured out how to make a great movie by now. Like,
exactly.
It's a guess as good as anybody's.
Speaking of Scary of 61st, Justin Robbins says it felt like Gen Z horror, which I would understand that. He says I like Censor, though. Joe Jack says, so Scary of 61st is for Gen Z. It might be more tailored towards them.
I think it's got a bit of a meme culture with it, like the whole Epstein thing. As like, I think it's geared towards that.
Yeah, completely agree there. Let's go to the next one. We got some classics coming from Kino from 1937. We are getting High, Wide, and Handsome. This is a preservation 4K scan of the OCN, coming sometime in 2023, probably. With Kino announces, who knows? That might be much later. This one is, let's see, directed by Ruben Mamoulian, starring Irene Dunn, Randolph Scott, Dorothy Lamour, Charles Bickford, and a couple other names that some people might recognize. The exciting one for a lot of people this last weekend from Kino, though, was from 1989, The Experts. This is a 4K scan of the 35 millimeter OCN, and this has some even bigger names. We got John Travolta, Kelly Preston, Ari Gross, Deborah Foreman, James Keach, and this one is directed by Dave Thomas, who did Strange Brew, and I don't think I've seen this one. This seems to be continuing a really interesting trend for Kino right now. Is they seem to get these bulk groups of licenses, and this is one that might be a part of like an 80s comedy lot that they got, and I'm kind of really stoked for some of them, so I may check this one out. I grew up really not liking John Travolta, and getting to try to respect him more and more nowadays as an actor. I know he's been great in a few things, but yeah, a few, yeah.
I was like, yeah, John Travolta can. Funny enough, my dad's favorite movie is Urban Cowboy. I've never seen it because all he does is talk about Urban Cowboy. It's a great movie. Maybe I should finally check it out just for him.
Yeah, it that got a new Paramount release last year, I think.
Yeah, it was. I thought about picking it up for him.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Urban Cowboy is one of those that like a generation just grabbed onto and never let go. Next up, we got a really interesting announcement, I think. This is Park Chan-wook's Decision to Leave. Now, this is coming on January 10th, so in the very near future. But the big deal, this is coming from Mubi. And Mubi, for those that don't know, is a streaming service. And they are... I don't want to make it sound pretentious because I don't think it's very pretentious, but it's like a Criterion style streaming service, but instead of this rotating stack of titles and all of their releases that they get to put out, Mubi seems to be very curated by a human touch. And I think what it is you get 30 films for 30 days and then they're gone, and it always cycles out.
It changes every day because I've had it before. So one movie will get on there, and it's got 30 days, and then so every day one leaves, one comes on.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really
cool. The big deal about this is Mubi, being a streaming service, they have been releasing films on physical media in the UK. This is their first release in the US, it looks like. Now, for those that don't know, some of the titles that they'd put out before have US releases. Some of them have no US releases. Like they put out Annette in the UK, and that has no US release yet. That's the Adam Driver film. The other one that got a lot of fans behind it, they put out Drive My Car before Criterion did, but it also has an exclusive bonus feature that's like, I want to say it's a couple hours long. It's very, very robust for what it is that's exclusive. But Decision to Leave, this was a title that got a lot of notoriety this year for being one of the best films of 2022. And Park Chan-wook, I know for a fact, I've never seen a Park Chan-wook film that I haven't loved at the very least and wanted to worship at the highest. Park Chan-wook is an incredible filmmaker, and I'm dying to see this.
I have it, right now you can only buy it. So I went ahead and bought it for $15. I still haven't watched it. I'm really excited to watch it. I told myself I would watch The Handmaiden before I watched this because I think they're going to be sort of similar. I just still haven't done that.
The Handmaiden is glorious. I've got the Artificial Eye Curzon release from the UK, or I think they're the UK, and it's a beautiful release. And God, Park Chan-wook is just gifted, talented filmmaker. But just like don't be worried. These guys seem to know what they're doing. They've got a nice touch behind it. For those that don't know, Decision to Leave is what happens when an object of suspicion becomes a case of obsession. This is the winner of the Best Director at the 2022 Cannes Film Festival. Park Chan-wook returns with a seductive romantic thriller that takes his renowned stylistic flair to dizzying new heights. From a mountain peak in South Korea, a man plummets to his death. Did he jump or was he pushed? When Detective Hai Jun arrives on the scene, he begins to suspect the dead man's wife, Seo Rei, may know more than she initially lets on. But as he digs deeper into the...
Is this South Korean Vertigo? I'm into it.
Yes, literally.
I'm already into it. Cool.
And that's referenced in just a moment. Okay, so the man's wife So Rei may know more than she initially lets on, but as he digs deeper into the investigation, Hai Jun finds himself trapped in a web of deception and desire, proving that the darkest mysteries lurk inside the human heart. Here you go. With nods toward classic Hollywood and Hitchcock's Vertigo.
Sweet. Okay, cool.
Decision to Leave is an essential masterwork from the legendary Park Chan-wook, infused with elegance, ingenuity, and a knife-edge precision that truly cannot be matched. And this has special features. We got an introduction from the cast, interview with the director, moments of Decision to Leave featurette, behind the scenes at Cannes, Park Chan-wook's movie-going memories, and then, of course, we got some special features, but it's also fairly inexpensive. You can get this on Amazon for less than $20 right now. Get it to your door. I got the pre-order link right there for anybody that would want it, and cannot wait to see this. Wave says, Decision to Leave is my favorite movie of the year, though it's not very similar to The Handmaiden.
Okay, then maybe I'll feel better about watching, because I know, I think, was that the last one he did? Did he have anything in between? I know he's not quite like Mike, who's going to throw out something every other day.
Not at all. I feel like he had one more, maybe. That is not how you spell his name. Let me fix that. Somebody's probably going to beat me in the comments. If they do, say something.
I will.
Oh gosh, Handmaiden was 2016, so maybe not.
Older.
Oh, that's right. He did that Little Drummer Girl miniseries.
Oh, that Plain Archive is supposed to put out at some point. They've been advertising it for 3 years.
No, it just released. Somebody in our Discord
finally
posted it as a pickup today, and it looks incredible.
Yeah, I looked at it. I remember when they put it on their site, and I was like, "This sounds cool. I've never heard of it." I think it is that. Does it Michael Shannon in that show or something?
Yes,
yeah.
I think it's Michael Shannon and Florence Pugh actually.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Joe Jack, where's a good place to start with Park films?
Old Boy.
The obvious is Old Boy.
Yeah. The whole trilogy is really good. Like Old Boy isn't my favorite. Mr. Sympathy is probably my favorite of those three, but Old Boy is an easy one to start with.
Yeah. Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance is what John says as a starting point.
Yes, I got the words mixed up, but there it is.
The entire trilogy is great. The Handmaiden is probably not a good place to start. I would certainly go with Old Boy likely. What was the other one? Thirst might be a good place to start as well.
Yeah, I could see Thirst working.
And because it's so stylistic, if you don't like Thirst other than Old Boy, which pretty much everybody likes, there's probably not a lot of others that you would love from Park Chan-wook. All right, that's a lot on movie, but yeah, lots of really cool information there. The fact that it's their first U.S. release is a big deal, and possibly, hopefully, a sign of things to come. And also, I'll just say the fact that they had rights for films that have releases in the UK and not in the U.S., I'm kind of hoping they bring those to the U.S.
Yeah, seriously. Like, I hope they get a little bit bigger, because that's kind of I don't know. And maybe it's going to be encouragement for some of these other streaming labels that don't want to put anything out physically.
True that.
Hint.
I put up an interview this week with Lee Gambin. Lee Gambin is an Australian producer who has done stuff with Umbrella and Imprint, and done a lot of international work for Eureka and some other labels. He is fantastic and hilarious, and the interview goes all over the place, from weird musicals that he loved, and even his dog saving somebody's life. So if you are into that, give it a watch, please. I'd like you to check it out. Paramount Presents announced
Our
their
favorite
next
line here.
release. From 1992, they're putting out Just Another Girl on the IRT, and I don't think I've seen this somehow. It seems like I probably would have, but yeah, somehow I missed it. This is the directorial debut of Leslie Harris, and this was restored for Blu-ray. This is going to include a commentary by the director and then a little featurette with Leslie Harris speaking on the film as well. Supposedly a really great film. I'm very interested in seeing this.
I think I did finally get my first Paramount Presents by not on purpose. I found it at a secondhand store for Vanilla Sky.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's an interesting label.
That's what I was going to ask. What'd you think overall?
Cool idea. Probably could have been done better in execution, and that probably goes for the movie too. In all honesty, not just the packaging.
Oh man. Next up, Kino is putting out the this is coming on March 7th, by the way, Secret Admirer. This is coming from a 2K scan of the 35mm inner positive. This is the 1985 film starring C. Thomas Howell, Lori Loughlin, Kelly Preston again, and Fred Ward. This gets a new audio commentary by the director, David Greenwald, co-writer Jim Koof, and associate producer Lynn Koof, moderated by Daniel Kramer. This seems to be right in line with those 80s comedies I was talking about. An anonymous note sets off a romantic chainmail reaction with hilarious results in this letter-perfect comedy that really pushes the envelope. When high school heartthrob Michael receives an unsigned love letter, he assumes it's from knockout prom queen Deborah Ann. Instead, a pretty honor student, Tony, Lori Loughlin, not the honor student anymore. And when Michael accidentally misplaces the letter, the juicy jottings soon make their way into the hands of the whole neighborhood, touching off a scandalously sexy soap opera of mixed up motives, mistaken identities, and merrily misfired emotions. Kino really loves their alliteration.
R.I.P. Fred Ward.
Indeed. One of the greatest. Wave, is Army of Darkness a good movie to pick up? Yeah, it's a classic.
Absolutely.
I see the 4K
steelbook too first, so you kind of understand the context.
I see the 4K steelbook on sale for $20. I've only seen the first Evil Dead. Yeah, it's my least favorite of the three, but it's still a lot of fun.
Interesting. It's my favorite of the three. It's very different. Like I could see anyone picking it either way.
Yeah, and I've never loved fantasy, and that's the closest in the trilogy that lies in that. Let's see. Joe Jack, is Kino giving every release a slip now? Well, they see that people buy releases just because they have slips, so they're giving most releases a slip now. Yes,
I think it gives them an air of prestige. Like, and I think Kino's figured that out. Like, I actually, they have really simple slips, but like the little embossing on like the spine, I was like, for what it is, it's pretty well done. I like the ones I have.
Yeah, and I've got quite a few of them, more than I thought. I was trying to rearrange stuff the other day, and it was crazy. This is a little out of date now, but I just did the drawing for this right before this went live. If you are interested in the Patreon, check the link below. We do a giveaway for all of the VIP supporters, and every month one person wins a whole boutique package. And try to make those.
Sardis, right?
Sardis just won. I hope he gets to see that or this. Let's see. Wave says, I love the original poster art on the Kino slips. Yeah, they do pretty good.
Was it they had one where they actually changed it for one of the Dollars trilogies. I want to say it's Fistful of Dollars. It had a great slip. I think it's sold out now for their 4K release, or was it?
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds right. I wonder why just that one.
Yeah, because I don't think they changed the other two.
I don't think so. Now's as good a time as any to remind everybody that the Shelf Shock Rewind Awards is open for voting. And we started putting out some graphics to highlight some releases, like this Vinegar Syndrome release of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 got nominated for 6 awards on the ballot. You have until January 15th to vote. The link is in this post and pretty much all over on all my socials. So make sure you take a look at it. And Zach actually was on the creator selection committee. So thank you, Zach.
Which I really appreciate you inviting me for. That was a lot of
Of
fun.
course. I'm glad.
And I got to realize how little I buy of new releases. Everything else is from like a year or two ago.
Right. There was when I first started looking at nominees, there was a couple times I put something down, and for some reason I didn't think of stuff from 2021. I would write something down and then look it up and be like, that was 2019 or something crazy. I'm like, why am I thinking of that?
COVID's made everything just 1,000-year 1 year.
Yes. I keep calling it March 912th of 2020. Let's see. February 21st. This is such an odd release. So Paramount is putting out a 4K Steelbook, a standard 4K release, and a Blu-ray release for Dragon Slayer from 1981. This is the first time the film has been on Blu-ray, I believe, which is why it's also getting the Blu-ray release. This has... I forgot I added stuff to this. That's why it's longer than I expected. A terrible dragon is terrorizing the medieval land of Erland in the 6th century. Representatives from the kingdom seek the assistance of the wizard Ulrich to defeat the dragon immediately. Erland has been delivering virgins to appease the dragon, and their princess has rigged the lottery system they use in order to sacrifice herself next. But when Ulrich is killed, the task to confront the dragon falls to the wizard's apprentice, Galen, played by Peter McNichol. This is the first time ever on 4K, remastered with Dolby Atmos and featuring hours of special features, including new commentary by director Matthew Robbins with Guillermo del Toro.
Can I just note that Paramount might be the strangest major studio when they do catalog titles?
100%.
Like I showed it in the Discord today, where they do the Walmart exclusive 4 format releases and DVD cases. I was just like, and I'm pretty sure both of those are Paramount releases. I think Hunt for Red October is Paramount. So I'm like, okay, sure.
Sounds right.
Yeah, like why not?
Let me see.
But cool title, cool steal. I'm. It's enough for me to blind buy it probably. After I get the reviews on the 4K disc that it doesn't need a replacement.
Yeah, Hunt for Red October is Paramount, so they both have to be.
Yeah.
So this one, the thing that really excites me is that commentary. New commentary by the director, Matthew Robbins and Guillermo del Toro. There's also screen test and then a featurette called The Slayer of All Dragons. All 3 of these are available to pre-order now. This is really cool, but on the other hand, I have to throw a word of caution in there because it is Paramount. They seem to be like literally almost exactly 50-50. Half of their releases are, oh my God, this looks amazing. And the other half are, oh my God, why did you use a DVD master for this?
And I didn't pick up Escape from LA because I'm still a little bitter that Scream couldn't put that out on 4K for whatever reason. Right. I heard mixed things about that. I didn't actually pick it up, though, to check for myself.
It looks okay. Escape from LA obviously got plagued with a lot of production issues with how it was going to look anyways. Really, really shitty CGI that everybody still makes fun of. It looks not great in those scenes especially. But it's a decent upgrade from the Blu-ray. It's nothing that's essential. I'm also worried that because of Scream's very tight relationship with John Carpenter that in a year and a half, they'll put out Escape from LA on 4K with pins and a whole bunch of other stuff, and it won't be a different disc at all. And probably it could stand to do a little bit better.
Yeah, it's why I haven't been in a rush. I was like, if I have to rebuy the steel, or if they get to put out a steelbook for it, cool, I'll buy it then.
And the original release of it had a replacement program, so it just goes to show that stuff like that still is happening, even for studios.
Yeah.
Next up is one that I am always glad to talk about because they deserve a lot more love. That is on February 20th from Second Run in the UK. We are getting The Cassandra Cat from 1963. This is I believe a Czech film. And yes, Czech film. This is part modern fairy tale, part colorful political metaphor. The Cassandra Cat is a unique, glorious comic drama. Banned after the 1968 Soviet invasion of Czechoslovakia, the film was regarded as an unacceptable and subversive critique of communist society. A lot of people were very excited that this was announced. This gets a new 4K restoration of the film, a projection booth audio commentary with Mike White, Spencer Parsons, and Chris. I never remember how to say his name, even though I've heard it 8,000 times. I think it's Statue, something like that. I think that's just what I call it in my head. But we also get some archival features on here as well, plus a booklet featuring a new expansive essay by author Cerise Howard. And just like almost all of the second run releases, this is region free.
I think it's funny they started that with a Czech film that's a fairy tale, half fairy tale, half political, a thriller or whatever they call it. I was like, that describes like half of Eastern European films at that time. Like, that's not some of them. They like their fairy tales. Absolutely
true. Wave says Paramount refuses to use BD 100 discs, and the bitrate because of that is usually pretty low on a lot of their stuff.
Yeah.
So 4K should have no compression. That's like the whole point of the 2160p aspect of the higher quality there, and Paramount just kind of lets it float down.
Did they do that with Maverick too? Or I'm assuming they actually put work into Maverick, right? With their 4K release?
I would imagine that Tom Cruise demanded that. I can probably check that. I think.
Oh man, there's somebody who's offering you a great deal right now.
Oh really?
Yes. I offer promotion on your channel, viewers, followers, and views and chat bots. Look at that.
Wow. Oh, look at that. And I can't even ban it. At least it's on Twitch and most people can't see it. I says, Chris, I know his sister. Let's see. Glad that all three versions are coming out at the same time for Dragon Slayer. I thought when I first read about this that they were going to release each version one at a time. And yeah, it's always nice when they are at least honest about it. So Top Gun Maverick. Let me see. Does it say? No, I really thought it did say on this page. Unless I'm missing it. Oh, there it is. Single disc BD 100.
Yeah, I was like, that I've heard that had a great disc. I haven't seen the movie yet. It's passed me by, but
considering
they did a good job on it.
Considering Tom Cruise used his power to release that on Monday, apart from every other release that week, of course they give it extra attention. Random ass announcement. Ronin Flicks says coming in 2023, they are putting out Spiral from 2008, and then clicking over to the other cover, The Lost from 2006. Spiral is Joel David Moore, Zachary Levi, and Amber Tamblyn, and the almost unbearably tense psychological thriller about a shy telemarketer whose dark past threatens to destroy him. That one is directed by Adam Green and Joel David Moore, and Adam Green's been talking about that one getting a new release, so this must be the one that they were talking about.
I'm looking forward to that. I've never heard of it, but I'm interested. It sounds pretty cool.
Are you into Adam Green already?
Hit or miss, but I respect Green.
I really loved Frozen for some reason.
Yeah, I think that was fun. I think it's a cool little single setting survival movie.
I've very, very much like evangelized that film. I've taken it to a bunch of groups of friends and gotten them to see, like, this is a very simple film, but it's pretty damn tense. So I'm curious to see if this holds a candle to it at all, because it's around that same time. So yeah, I'll definitely check this one out.
And I need to watch Hatchet 3 and 4. I've only seen 1 and 2.
4, this is going to sound like a space of privilege, but he did his roadshow tour with Victor Crowley when it came out, and I got to see it with him in the theater, and that was just such a fun night. Part 4 has a lot of callbacks to the previous 3 films, a lot of in-jokes, a lot of if you're into the whole Adam Green family of normal people, it is perfect for those types. And I really like that he's like kind of like the Kevin Smith of horror, where all of his projects are all the same people. They all just hang out and have a good time and make something that's usually pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those ones. I guess weirdly he reminds me of Eli Roth. I don't know why, but I've gotten them mixed up on several occasions for some reason. Like when I think about their movies.
Yep.
But I don't know. He's never one that pisses me off as much as Eli Roth does sometimes.
I don't know how, but I've not finished Holliston. Have you watched Holliston before?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a horror TV show that they did 2 seasons of, and it's supposed to be pretty good. Except there's a lot of jokes. It's very like horror comedy supposedly, but like Dave Brockie from Gwar was in it with them, and all of their normal friends came and did a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's supposed to be great. Let's see. Ice Q is 4 with Brian from Impractical Jokers. Yes. And it starts with the comedian. What is his name? Jonah Ray. Jonah Ray in a boat, and one of them gets killed. I don't remember which one. John says, Adam Green hugged me since I was going through a divorce, and he did too. Had a personal story with him. Nice. What is this in real life friends thing when you have us from Discord? This was years ago, like 2012, before I knew about Discord. The Lost, also coming from Ronin Flicks. This is from 2006. 19-year-old Ray Pye is a black-clad suburban sociopath who meets his match when a new girl with a taste for the dark side, Catherine Wallace, arrives in town. Together, they are a dangerous couple whose deadly games lead to a horrific and shocking climax in this disturbing and powerful thriller. Another one of those based on the infamous horror novel by Jack Ketchum.
Ooh, Ketchum. I do like me some Ketchum stuff.
That's as soon as that name is mentioned, 5 people perk their ears immediately. Next is a very interesting release, and I probably this documentary is amazing. Yeah. I probably should have checked though, because they seem to be tweeting that this was going to have some exclusive features on it, and I did not check with the previous release. So February 6th in the UK from 101 Films, they are getting Never Sleep Again, the Elm Street Legacy, the masterpiece of a documentary from 2010. But all kinds of special features on this, and I don't remember what is on the US release. There is a commentary with the directors, with the writer and cinematographer. There's extended interviews with the cast and crew. There is a featurette called For the Love of the Glove. Fred Heads, the Ultimate Freddy fans. The Horrors Hollowed Grounds with the Return to Elm Street series that they did on those. Freddy versus the Angry Video Game Nerd, expanding the Elm Street universe in comics and novels. Music of the Nightmare, conversations with the composers and songwriters. Elm Street's Poster Boy, The Art of Matthew Joseph Peak, A Nightmare on Elm Street in 10 minutes. And then Heather Langenkamp's I Am Nancy first look, which I don't know. Is that an upcoming documentary? Is that something that I have missed somehow entirely?
I haven't heard anything about it. She's kind of been, I know she was in that, what was that movie? Oh, They Slash Them. Was that the one she was in for like a minute? She was in some horror movie for a few minutes this year. I can't remember what it was now.
Right. That sounds...
Yeah, she just, I only see, that's about all I see her anymore. It's just here and there.
That
no,
and
Midnight Club. Midnight Club is what she was in. I don't know why I thought of They Slash Them.
That's right. Yeah. Huh. I'm going to see if it's on IMDb already. Because, I could see doing a decent doc. Oh, John says it's an older doc from a few years back. But why does it say first look? Heather Langenkamp's I Am Nancy. Interesting. Taking a look at IMDb. Not seeing it in the last 5 years or so. And it's not coming up. So, wow, yeah, I'm just plain not seeing it. Interesting.
You'll have to get that set just to see what that first look is.
And yeah, so weird that it says first look. Chester says, was that part of the Friday the 13th box set?
They had the Crystal Lake memoir.
The Crystal Lake Memories.
Yeah.
Next up, this is another 80s comedy coming out. This is March 7th from Kino, Making Mr. Right. From 87, this has a new HD master from a 2K scan of the 35 inner positive. New audio commentary by Susan Seidelman and the star Anne Magnuson. New interview with Anne Magnuson and a new interview with the producer and director Susan Seidelman. Pretty cool that they got a bunch of extra stuff on this. This is a John Malkovich film, which I pretty much always like John Malkovich. He's pretty great. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I've always liked him too. It's he's always that guy that weirdly can play intimidating well, even though he's never feels intimidating. He just does it really well. I can't ever explain it.
That makes sense. Even in something like Red, yeah, it's definitely kind of intimidating. He's got like that air of I'm actually an actor, man. Shut up.
Yeah, and it's like he doesn't have an intimidating voice, but he always makes it work.
Right. Skolder gave a good answer. It might that doc for Heather Langenkamp. It might have been First Look for the UK. Maybe they haven't got a release yet. Wave wants to know: is everyone jumping on the U.S. release of Texas Chainsaw or waiting for more info from Second Sight?
Second Sight, 100%.
Can't decide what to do right now. To me, like if you enjoy anything from Second Sight and you're region free, just in case the extras are not region A friendly, I would 100% wait for Second Sight, because I can guarantee they have all of the exact same features that are on the US release and probably more. That documentary specifically that is brand new on the US release, it was made by Second Sight. The producer, Philip Escott, is the one that made it. And of course it's going to be on their disc. So everything that's going to be on this disc should be on theirs. It will also have a book, undoubtedly. It will also have more bonus features, and it's probably going to be great.
I completely agree with you. I will give at least a little credit to Dark Skies, just because I'm sure there are people in here that are just Region A. They have taken care of Texas Chainsaw for over a decade now, so I'm sure they'll do fine. I'm sure it'll be a great release either way.
It's true. Joe Jack asks, is there ever a sale on Second Sight that's worth it for Americans, or should I just do a site like Diabolic? I gotta be honest, I don't remember there ever being a sale on the Second Sight.
Anything that's worth it is usually sold out. So
right.
It's gone.
So with that in mind, Diabolic or Orbit or Grindhouse. If you are pre-ordering something, Grindhouse Video seems to be the way to go recently. They are discounting things to incentivize pre-ordering. For example, right now they have on pre-order the 88 films box set of the In the Line of Duty films, and you can pre-order that right now for $62. And on Amazon, that's going for $100. On Diabolic, that's like $65, $66. So not only is it a little bit cheaper, but if you spend $100 on Grindhouse, you also get free shipping. And Grindhouse takes care of everybody. Mike is fantastic. He's a wonderful person. So, yeah. Let's see. Flickering Waves. Totally stoked for making Mr. Right. Ann Magnuson is very underrated. So glad I didn't get the previous Olive release. That's right. It was an Olive release. Chester, is that supposed to be released before or after the Hitcher? The hard part, we don't have either of those release dates yet. They
post today that it's looking like March, or did I make that up?
No, you are right. They said it will be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre release will be in March, and we will hear more about that in January.
Yeah,
and because it's in March, we'll probably hear about it that first or second week of January.
Okay, and then Hitcher, we haven't got really any news, except it's coming next year.
Except I feel like earlier in this year, and somebody either remind me that I'm telling the truth or that I'm forgetting or something. I feel like they posted that we're going to hear more about it before Christmas. And that would mean, and usually they announce things on Fridays. That would mean tomorrow. I'm not saying that we're getting that, so nobody take that and run with it. But I wouldn't be surprised if to get like the year, close it out with a bang, that they announce it for pre-orders and all that stuff. And I just got this. I was gonna, show this in pickups if we did it, but I'll show it now. Let me make this smaller. Second Sight just released Tangerine from Sean Baker. Love Sean Baker. This is wonderful quality to get one of his films with. They announced this like 2.5 weeks before it released. This was ready to go immediately. So this is something that they absolutely could do with the Hitcher. It could be announced tomorrow and in your hands very quickly. So we'll see. And
I think 2023 is just like they have that, TCM and Martin all coming out in 1 year. I was like, they've already got a big slate picked out just for those three. So I'd be curious what else they're going to have.
Well, and don't forget, they teased Picnic at Hanging Rock as well.
That's right, they did. Yeah, and that's a good one. That makes sense for them.
Yeah, and I would honestly, it probably deserves a really good 4K. That movie would look great in 4K. Not saying that there's going to be 4K necessarily, but we'll see.
It'd be nice.
Yeah. Ragnar says, and it'll be $59.99. Could be, depending on what they got the rights to and what they're releasing with it. But Texas Chainsaw, I don't think is going to be one of the ones that's going to be $60 like The Guest, because they're probably not getting any music to put on a disc for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The only thing that is that it's 4K, so it'll probably be like 45 or 50 at most. I don't see it being $60. I got to be honest. Nicodemus asks, good evening. Have you or anyone in the chat heard any rumors of new Seijun Suzuki titles coming out as his 100th birthday? Jeez, in 2023. I've not heard anything yet. Unfortunately. He's got a lot of good releases out there, though. Next from Kino Lorber on March 7th from 1935, we are getting The Crusades. This is a 2K scan of a 35 millimeter fine grain element with a new audio commentary by Daniel Kramer and Alan Arkush. And this has Loretta Young. That's about all I know about this one. This is not an area that I'm well versed in. And as far as I know, Zach doesn't have a lot of these under his belt either.
No. If it doesn't have a lot of blood and guts and everything else, it's hard for me to know it.
The Crusades, one of the most famous not bloody times in human history.
Yeah. I know what 1935 means. I know the Hays Code. They're not gonna trick me.
That was just a wonderful back and forth there. Let's see. Chester says, I thought they said they'd have the restoration done by late spring for The Hitcher, but no release date announced. That could be. Might have been it might have been Martin that they said we'd hear more by Christmas, which we obviously did.
Yeah.
So I could have that backwards. Let's see. February 21st on 4K from Paramount, we are getting Station 11 from 2021. This will also be out on Blu-ray. I think this was a mini series. Yeah, this 3-disc Blu-ray collection comes with all 10 episodes of the highly acclaimed series, plus exclusive deleted scenes. I knew nothing about this. I definitely never saw it. Stars Mackenzie Davis, Himesh Patel, Lori Petty. There's some people that made some cameos in it, but yeah, I don't know much about this drama. Did you happen to watch this?
No, I'm just sitting here noting that has to be the worst cover I've ever seen from a major studio.
Yeah, it's not great.
I hate everything about it. Like the big certified fresh, putting someone's face I don't recognize as close up as possible, and then a really standard font. I was like, yeah, this was like 10 minutes by an intern.
It's her Adam's tomato. That was a terrible joke. Okay, we also got a lot of random Sylvia Christel announcements. Cult Epics is putting out 1975's Playing with Fire. This is about an affluent banker who keeps his daughter Carolina hidden in a mysterious house of perversion. Okay, I'm sold.
Yeah, I'm already adding it to my watch list.
French film from 1975 gets an audio commentary by Tim Lucas. Interview with the Catherine Robbie Grillet. I'm definitely not French. The limited edition gets a booklet with an essay by Alain Robbe-Grillet, which is the director, essay about the director by film scholar Marcus Stigliger. There's a reversible sleeve. Here's the other side, which is very Cult Epics, and I'll take that back since there's some visible nipples for a moment. Uncensored original poster art is on that other side. And then if you order from the Cult Epic site, there is a U.S. poster postcard limited to the first 100 copies.
I was sitting here looking. I was like, this is because it doesn't have many reviews on Letterboxd. And I was like, usually if that's the case, the whole movie's on YouTube. But it does not seem to be the case this time.
Eric confirmed second sight tweet around Thanksgiving regarding The Hitcher says restoration still scheduled for completion by March, expecting an early summer release.
So the first half of the year, second sight's going to just own me. That's fine.
Essentially, yes. Lots of love for Station 11 in the comments here. Says it's on HBO. Eric says, read the book, didn't know there was a TV series. And then there's Griff. I thought Cult Epics would have more sales once they partnered with MVD, but haven't seen much as of late. They had another sale on their website, but Cult Epics has to have one of the worst websites for sales that I have ever seen in my life. I don't know if you've ever gone to their website. Have you at all?
No, I'm going to right now though.
Okay, so if you go and click on one of their items, like if you want more information about a Blu-ray, it opens up a PayPal checkout screen for that item. And that's it. You can't, there's no cart system. You have to check out with that item.
Which is funny because when I look in the corner, it has a cart.
Oh man, yeah,
their site. Add to cart. Yes, that is exactly what it did for me. Awesome.
Their site is notoriously bad. There is another Sylvia Christel release here, and that is Julia. This is coming on February 7th, and this is from 1974. This one says, filmed and released immediately after Sylvia Christel became one of the world's biggest stars as Emmanuelle. C.G. Rothman's Julia is a German sex comedy drama, with Sylvia starring as a young man's first love, foreshadowing her later U.S. commercial hit, Private Lessons. Cult Epics presents Julia on Blu-ray and DVD in a 2K restoration with new bonus features, including an audio commentary by Jeremy Ritchie and a 4-page booklet. So if you want that booklet, you'll need to get the limited edition, and then there is an uncensored French postcard limited to the first 100 copies if you order from the site. Here is the reverse art, which is an interesting take on this film.
Oh, that's male nipples. You're good, I think.
Yeah, I had to check.
I like that they put a 4-page booklet. Like, I'm glad they're not going to oversell it. Like, this is 4 pages. That's all you're getting.
They could have said extensive booklet and then disappointed a lot of people, but at least they're honest. Next up, another Cult Epics release. This one sounds very interesting. April 11th, Cult Epics is releasing Amnesia from 2001. Amnesia is directed by Martin Koolhoven, who also did Winter and Wartime and Brimstone. This is a psychological mystery thriller in which a photographer returns home to find his family's dark secrets uncovered. This is the debut feature film of Carice Van Houten. Cult Epics presents Amnesia in a 2-disc Blu-ray limited edition set, which will include a bonus disc with Martin Koolhoven's debut TV movies. The award-winning Susie Q from 1999, featuring the first TV movie appearances by Carice Van Houten and Michelle Huisman, and Dark Light from 1997 with Vivian de Munk and Mark van Uchelen. I'm definitely not German. This gets a new introduction by the director, a new audio commentary by the director, Fedja van Huit, and moderated by Peter Verstraeten. There's also a new interview with the director and Carice Van Houten that is 45 minutes long, and making of from 2001, some behind the scenes. Overall, this is a pretty good release, and I genuinely really like this cover art.
If it's anything like Brimstone, which is the only one from him I've seen, it's going to be bleak and it's going to be depressing. So I'm really into it. I'll have to pick it up.
Nice. Very nice. Joe Jack, question about Second Sight. Do the Second Sight limited editions have extras that the standard releases don't, like Arrow does?
I don't have a standard, so I'm not sure.
I don't think so, unless it specifies. Like, CD soundtracks obviously do not carry over to standard editions. As far as I'm aware, all of the other extras have been on the standards. But the best thing, Second Sight lately, at least for like the last 6 or 8 months, they have been announcing the standard and the limited edition at the same time. So you know you're losing the book, or if you get Drive, the books. I still can't believe that release got multiple books. So you're losing the books. You're losing if there's any CD soundtrack. I think all of the disc actual content will be the same. Next up, Unearthed Films. April 11th is releasing Calamity of Snakes from 1982. I know our friend John Peters is very excited about this one. They've been teasing this one for quite some time, and we finally got some. We finally got a release date. That is the big thing. I was waiting for them to release that because this kind of got semi-leaked about a week ago, week and a half ago, with what they were going to have on the disc. And those that don't know, this is an Asian film from '82 that says, after a businessman kills thousands of snakes in a pit while they are building a new apartment building, the people living there soon become attacked by millions of snakes with a vengeance. And for those that may not love the animal cruelty, supposedly this is very high on animal cruelty, like one of the worst.
Credit to them, though. This has to be the best cover Unearthed Films has ever put out that I can remember.
It is.
That is the coolest art.
It is likely the original poster art. I would have to check on that. It might not be, but I'm curious.
Because I have Purgatory Road and Serbian Film, because why not have that in my collection? And they're both kind of meh.
I get that. Unearthed is interesting. They've put out a handful of at least good films to a couple that are really great, but a lot of their films are just not up to par. Obviously, a lot of it is just shock stuff, but this is one that seems to have at least a reputation of very interesting greatness. I believe this is a Cat 3. This is going to get an audio commentary from Nathan Hamilton and Brad Slayton. There is possibly the coolest part of this entire release: a full-length documentary, From Shaw to Snakes, the venom and violence of early Chinese language horror cinema. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
And then Reptilian Recollections, Lin Kuang Young in conversation with Chui Yi Chung. And then also, if you're not into the animal cruelty stuff, there is going to be an alternate cut on here without the animal cruelty, which I'm glad labels are embracing that. Grindhouse Releasing, Error 4444 has done that, and now Unearthed. That is a good thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not one who's ever really bothered by it. I kind of look at it as just,
it's historical.
It was part of the time.
Yeah.
It sucks, but it's what it was. But either way, it's better to have both than to just alienate a whole audience who won't watch it.
Yeah, and as long as they don't censor it for their agenda to release it and say, hey, here is the cut that we chose. As long as you get both versions, I'm more than happy with that.
Yeah, just from a preservation standpoint. As much as it sucks, I'd hate Apocalypse Now to get rid of the water buffalo. I mean,
exactly. Then Hunt from 2022 is coming on February 28th from Magnolia and Magnet. This is one that I believe is getting some work done by Wellgo, and the audio is supposed to be great on this. This actually looks pretty damn good. It's got the guy that won the Emmy for Squid Game in it, and says, after President Park's murder in 1980, North Korea sensed an opportunity for future invasion and sends one of its spies. Park Pyung-ho and Kim Jong-do, two senior security officers, are tasked with hunting down the infiltrator. I am certainly interested in seeing this.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds interesting. I got an amount of Magnet stuff I got. What do they count as? Are they that weird A24 type label, I guess?
It's hard because it seems like they just pay for distribution.
Yeah.
They are oh wow. Ice says this was also directed by Squid Game guy Lee Jung-jae.
Oh yeah, I see his name up top now. Yeah.
So yeah, obviously Magnet and Magnolia, they're not actually producing these films themselves. They're not going out there and making movies. So they're not the studio. However, they are buying rights for something that is complete and just putting it out as is. It's not like they're adding a lot of flair or anything to their releases. So kind of classifiable as a boutique, but in more reality, it's probably just like a distributor.
Yeah, I kind of thought like, well, you talk about Magnolia, but yeah, like A24, it's like, yeah, they kind of cater to a type, I guess.
Yep. The hard part with A24 is they do produce a lot of their films. So it gets to be a little gray area where they are just doing distribution for some and boutiquing the physical releases, but then also they're doing the same thing for the ones that they produce. So it's tough. Last one for the week. This is for the modern film from 2022, Armageddon Time. This is coming out very soon, January 3rd from Universal. And this is the movie that has Anthony Hopkins, Anne Hathaway, Jeremy Strong. This is directed by James Gray, and this is supposed to be pretty decent. And getting a nice release. It's got some deleted scenes. There's a couple featurettes, and it's got subtitles available to pre-order now. I've not seen this one, though.
It's not one that particularly interests me as much as I watched his last film, Ad Astra, which I like that one. I enjoyed that one. But that was basically Heart of Darkness and space. So
right,
that's cool.
Yeah, there's some of these modern filmmakers. I don't know. They've got a style. They've got a tone that you can really pluck out as singular for them. But it's tough when it doesn't always work.
Yeah.
And that's it. A lot of stuff got announced this week. We also had a bunch of premiums get announced. So if you're not following, make sure you go over to the Premiums Disconnected channel on Instagram. Follow that. We will go over premiums every second Thursday on Reconnected. And real quick, run through what is coming out next week in case you forgot. And when I say real quick, oh man, do I mean real quick? Because there is hardly anything. Mardi Gras Massacre from Severin is finally showing a retail release of this Tuesday. I think that's accurate, but they haven't come out and said that. It was available again at the Black Friday sale, so it would not surprise me if they were allowed to release that for sure. Halloween Ends on 4K and Blu-ray and probably DVD that everybody is dying to see again on home video. You can get that starting next Tuesday.
Paul Newman's... I bought 2 copies for everyone.
2 different steelbooks?
Yes, I did. Savi, thank you.
Yep, that makes sense. Nobody's Fool from Paul Newman, or Nobody's Fool with Paul Newman is coming on 4K from Kino next week. And that's actually a fairly decent film. Paul Newman, does really well in that. All of the Vinegar Syndrome partner labels that were released this month, they're showing a release of this coming Tuesday, but you can get those from Vinegar Syndrome now. The other major new release, Terrifier 2, coming this next Tuesday. 4K release coming exclusively to Best Buy. Steelbook release coming exclusively to Walmart. And the regular Blu-ray release is coming everywhere else. Although Amazon's is showing a collector's edition, and they haven't been fully transparent about the difference in the features yet. So I'm very curious if we're actually going to find a difference, because they sure are touting that collector's edition side of Terrifier 2. Twilight coming from Kino Lorber this next Tuesday as well. Some coming from their female Yakuza tale coming from Discotek. Digimon coming from Discotek. And I think, if I remember right, other than Lupin the Third from Discotek as well, I believe, that's pretty much it. Next Tuesday, obviously December is usually pretty slow. But, that's right. I wanted to shout out The Lair. I've not seen this yet, but it's directed by Neil Marshall, the guy that did The Descent and Dog Soldiers. Have you gotten to see The Lair yet?
I have not seen The Lair yet, but I like him. I like him quite a bit.
That cover worries me. I think it probably is meant to look more interesting than the film probably is. And it's probably far from a perfect film. I just want him to be successful again.
You know, he directed 2 episodes of one of my favorite shows that also nobody watches, which was Black Sails. He did 2 early episodes of that show, and they're both really well done action stuff. But he's kind of had a hard time. Like, you'd think after The Descent he would have just like boosted. It just never happened.
I think I've got the Black Sails. Yeah, I've got the Black Sails Steelbook that Zavi put out.
I did too. Yeah. Have you watched it?
I watched an episode. I've just not gotten around to finish it. It's a lot.
The first season is by far the weakest, but it really goes great after that. I try to sell that show to anyone I can. Interesting.
Well, it piqued my interest enough to purchase. So I'm interested in that one. 100 Steps coming from Raro Video next Tuesday. And like I said, that is it. So now, the fun part of the conversation. So, like I said, for everybody, we set out to do 10 holiday horrors, whether these... I don't know. Did you rank these as like the 10 best in your opinion?
Not necessarily, because I really didn't want to get bogged down with the same like 2 or 3 holidays. So I tried to like spread it out a bit for one, and then I don't necessarily have them in order because probably the first one I'm going to mention is my number one, just because I just want to get out of the way because it'd be kind of anticlimactic to end on. So
I get
they're not
that.
in any order.
All right. So I, again, didn't have any real criteria for this. I just love, for some reason, it's probably cheesy, but horror movies that are tied into a holiday or can loosely tie into a holiday, it makes it fun. It makes it something that you can like go to every single year on that date or holiday and just make a fun tradition out of it. And I like a lot of them. I tend to go back to some more than others, and some I think are genuinely some of the greatest horror films of all time.
Yeah.
No doubt. I've got a handful on here that I would say are easily top 50 horror of all time. So we're going to see a lot of ranges of different types of films, but by all means, in the comments, hit us with some of your favorites. There's going to be some diversity here. Hit us with those off the wall ones, and then after we're through with our 10, I'm going to go through some that I think were very loosely connected that I had to write down that I thought would be funny as hell just to tie into something. So we'll go through some of those later. So why don't you share your first that you wanted to get out of the way?
It's John Carpenter's Halloween. I mean, I didn't want to end with that one. I consider it the greatest film ever made. He perfected the holiday horror, so I had to go with that one.
That makes sense. And on that note, I will get mine out of the way then and say that for this series, Halloween 3 to me is the most, one of the two most Halloween films in existence. That even though it doesn't have the jack-o'-lantern at the beginning like a lot of the other ones, even though it doesn't have, it doesn't necessarily take place on Halloween, it feels like Halloween. And oh my God, the movie's just damn near perfect. I know it wasn't loved at the time, but I think almost too many people have come back to that film now and memed it to death a little bit, but it genuinely is a really great film for the holiday of Halloween. Obviously has nothing to do with the actual franchise of Halloween, but it's so good.
And I think, in all honesty, my girlfriend's watched a lot of random Halloween movies with me, and that might be her favorite, just because it's fun and ridiculous in like the best way. Like we were talking about likable characters, and I mean Tom Atkins is not the most likable person in that movie, but he's great to watch.
Let's see. Justin Robbins wants to throw out there, this year's been great for holiday genre with Violent Night, The Leech, and Christmas Bloody Christmas. I still need to see Violent Night and Christmas Bloody Christmas. I'm eager to see both of them.
The Leech was really good. I like The Leech.
Graham Skipper killed it in that role.
Yeah. And I told somebody, I was like, for the first 30 minutes, I was like, this is fun, but I kind of know where it's going to go. And there's something that's revealed without spoiling it on here that's like at the 35-minute mark. And it just blew me away from there. And I thought it was great.
Ragnar says, don't gloss over Female Yakuza Tale. It's an awesome movie. I didn't mean to. I could not remember the word discotheque, so I was struggling to think of that. What is the second one you want to highlight?
You know what? I know probably a common one that would be expected to get on here is Bob Clark's Black Christmas. And I do love that movie. I will be watching it in 3 days. But I would rather highlight the 2006 remake Black Christmas, which does, in my opinion, what every remake should do. Take the idea and do something else with it. Like, if you look at like Bob Clark's as this classy, methodical slasher, proto-slasher in a lot of ways, Black Christmas is a mean-spirited, stylish, over-the-top, violent slasher, and I love it to death. I watch it about every year. It's just a ton of fun. I think it got overhated because of a lot of the bad trailers that were around it, where they filmed stuff just to put in the trailers, which was not up to the director. And I think that hurt the film a ton, because it obviously has a lot of love for the original, but it doesn't want to copy the original.
So this is going to be hilarious, and this is genuine. I wrote down Black Christmas 1974 with an asterisk next to it on my list here. And the reason being, because I wanted to highlight it, saying that it is probably the best holiday horror film ever. First of all, it's like the highest quality, most likely. However, just through our community, knowing you, I knew that Black Christmas 2006 was going to be on your list, so I didn't want to highlight it as my list, so I have it listed as number 11. But Black Christmas 2006 is incredible. I, again, overhated by everybody for no reason. The uncut version of this has never gotten a Blu-ray in the US. However, German media books were released earlier this year, so you could get the uncut version on Blu-ray, and I believe they're region free, but also they released a standard edition of the uncut Blu-ray from Germany, and Orbit is getting that in. I believe they just had a version of that in this week, so you can get the just regular Scanovo case with it, and it is very worth it. The uncut scenes on this are something that makes it a better film, in my opinion.
Yeah, like it's sleazy, it's mean-spirited, it's very much in its 2000s horror.
Yep.
But unlike 2000s horror, it was actually nice to look at. Like, it's a really pretty movie. Like, the way the colors used and everything. I don't know, it gets me into the spirit. I usually watch it sometime at the beginning of December, and it usually gets me in the mood.
After the German media books came out, I actually genuinely thought that Scream Factory was going to release this for November or December. And when they didn't, I was very surprised.
I mean, it would be the first thing I like. If I did it immediately, I would pre-order that. Like, full stop. They need to release it. Weinstein doesn't own it anymore. We can release it now, guys.
So the second one that I want to throw out there is the only other Halloween one that I really wanted to highlight, and that's because Halloween is the easiest one to do a horror movie for, obviously, and that's Trick or Treat. I think that it is either that or Halloween 3 are the best Halloween horror films ever. Trick or Treat embraces so much of Halloween in every aspect, and it takes the anthology film and connects it in so many diverse ways throughout that Doherty just is successful on every level in that film. It is fun. It is mean, especially the bus segment, genuinely creepy. It is very funny. Some of the comedy in that movie is incredible, and one of the most iconic 2000s movies, period. I mean, Sam is everywhere now. So, yeah, I love this movie.
Yeah, and it's so surprising that it took so long for the movie to come out. I think it was shelved for like 2 or 3 years, and they didn't think it would be anything. And then when it came out, they didn't give it the release it deserved, and it took some time. But I mean, it whenever I go into Spirit Halloween, it's full of Sam, just as much as anybody else.
Absolutely. And the ironic part of all this is it got so popular that they greenlit a sequel. And then Doherty got too popular, and now it's probably never going to happen.
Yeah. At least he gave us King of the Monsters, even though I'm probably like the only person who seems to like that movie.
I'm very curious to see what the next one's going to be.
Okay, so I'm going to go for one of the ones that is kind of debatable if it's a holiday movie, but it was on the Wikipedia page, so I'm counting it, which is The Return of the Living Dead from 1985, which is apparently a July 4th movie.
You very much took my number 4 on my list. So
okay. So we'll just talk about it now. Good.
Yeah. So this film very famously opens with right after the title card says that it is occurring on July 3rd, and they're out there. So the entire movie basically takes place on July 4th. This little intro part takes part the night of July 3rd. So yeah, everything happens on Independence Day. Amazing movie. Some of the best zombie action, some of the best makeup. Tarman is incredible in this movie.
Yeah, and it's one of those movies too, and I can never explain it. I always think it's in the like early 90s. I don't know why, but it feels so much like an early 90s movie. And then it'll be like 1985, and I was like, it just doesn't have that 80s feel, right, which is not bad at all. I think it's because the ending is without spoiling, even though it's like 40 years old at this point. It's kind of mean-spirited, which is very in 80s. Like,
yep. And then it got 4 sequels.
Yeah, which I've seen 0 of. Like, I think I got everything I wanted out of the first one. But no, I don't think I've ever paid attention to the date at the beginning. So when that popped up, I was like, sure, I love this movie. It's in like my top 25, so sure.
I will put in a different one at number 4 then. That's good. The next one I'm going to highlight is not particularly debatable, but it is, however, vastly underwatched. And I'm going to go with 2008's Pontypool. Have you seen Pontypool?
Yes, I almost put it on there. Pontypool is great.
So Pontypool is a loosely attached Valentine's Day film, and this is a zombie film that takes place all in a radio station. And since most people have not seen it, I'm not going to spoil this one, but it is overall a very unique story, a very tense story, and something that harkens back to like the stories that we've heard of. The reading of War of the Worlds and people thinking that something real was going down, and the the broadcast aspect of radio, since in all reality we are probably losing most of that in the next 10 years. Radio stations will likely not be the same way as we see them today and have for most of our lives. It'll probably be replaced by something that's pre-recorded and only chipped in with local news and those type of segments. But I love this movie. There is no Blu-ray release in the US or maybe even anywhere.
I've never seen one. I don't think it's gotten any major release. I think it does have a DVD.
There was a Blu-ray in the UK in 2010.
That's an old Blu-ray.
Yeah, very old Blu-ray. So yeah, we definitely need an updated one. This is one that is screaming for like an Arrow release in September or something like that to really highlight the horror aspect of it and give some prestige to a modern horror film that deserves it. And it's I noticed afterwards a lot of my films on this list are Canadian. I don't know why. It's a great Canadian film. Pontypool is amazing.
Yeah, I have at least one Canadian film on here, so I'm sure it might be the same one. We'll see.
Well, Black Christmas '74, that's Canadian too.
Oh yeah. So for mine, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here. It is probably going to be my one of two Larry Cohen films, which is Maniac Cop 2, which I think is hilarious as a holiday movie because the first one is also a holiday movie. It takes place on St. Patty's Day. But somehow the sequel, which takes place right after the first one, is a Christmas movie. It makes no sense, after. And I'm completely okay with it. I've always said Maniac Cop 2 is the best one. That stun at the end pushes it over the edge for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can count it as a Christmas movie. I'll go with it.
Maniac Cop is fun. I really do wish we could have the first one in 4K, like the second two. This is one of the best errors in a franchise ever. The fact that it takes place moments after and it's a Christmas movie is mind-boggling. Great 4K from Blue Underground, easily accessible, fun movie. The fact that two of the three films are holiday horrors shows how good holiday horrors have it sometimes. The fact that they grabbed onto both, I love that.
Yeah, and I don't even feel like Larry Cohen wasn't aware. I just don't think he cared. Like, it just seems like more like, meh.
Yep. Let's see. Stan Geezy says, big fan of Christmas Evil. Terry says, stuck on Christmas at the moment, but some of my favorites are Christmas on Mars, Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, Christmas Evil, and Anna the Apocalypse. Ice says, we need a madman to make an Arbor Day or Earth Day horror movie. All that is, man, what's going on? No, we have not talked about Christmas Evil just yet.
It might come up soon.
Scolders leave and have a good night, Scolder. See you on the replay. My next one, this is one that I grew up with pretty heavily and wanted to get it out of the way quickly. And since we just talked about St. Patrick's Day with Maniac Cop, I'm going to go with the obvious pick here, which is Leprechaun. I love the first Leprechaun. I think that it's cheesy as hell and not a good movie, but just because I'm so attached to it, I really wanted to shout this out. And because it's one of those movies just like Cutting Class and what was it, Critters 4 or whatever, that has a big Hollywood star making their debut in a horror film. It was 3. Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that series in so long. I love that aspect of it because it draws fans of other types of films into the genre to see where she came from, and she's actually pretty good in it. You can tell why she's a good actress. She's very good in the movie.
Now, Leprechaun 1's never been my favorite. Now, the time he goes back to the hood for the second time might be my favorite.
It's a fun one. I tend to like the entire series. Leprechaun is weird and awkward and again, not great, not super high quality, but man, they are fun.
Yeah, like I think the only one that ever tried to take itself like even a little seriously was that WWE
Yeah,
Origin one. Like for some reason,
and it didn't work very well.
yeah. Luckily, they got one more with Warwick Davis.
All right, what do you got next?
You know what? Since it got brought up earlier, I'll go ahead and talk about it. I actually just watched it for the first time this year, which was Christmas Evil.
Nice.
Very first time I ever saw it, and I'll be honest, I avoided it for years because I just thought it was just like another Silent Night, Deadly Night, which I'm not big on those films. I've never really cared that much about them. So I was like, oh, cool, Killer Santa Claus. But then when it came out to be more like Maniac and Taxi Driver, I was like, this is fascinating. This is like really cool. It's does really good with the character stuff, and
Yeah.
I was really impressed. I was very taken aback by how good I thought it was.
Christmas Evil is very much not like Silent Night, Deadly Night. I tend to not love the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies
Okay,
either.
we're the same on that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's not my style of film. I'm not I don't want to put it down. Like, it's not a terrible movie or anything. It's like the people that really grab onto Miami Connection type of love. I don't love Miami Connection for a lot of the same reasons. Yeah. So Silent or wow, can't think. Christmas Evil is very sleazy. It is a very dirty movie. It's something that when you watch it, you feel like, man, I really don't like this person. This is gross.
Yeah, and and it's easier to watch than Maniac. I love Maniac, but it's like Joe Spinell really brings that
Yeah.
sleaze out in Maniac. But still, this guy, he's kind of the opposite of it. He feels a little bit more clean cut, but he's still just as awful.
I agree. Let's see. We got some comments. Horror Guy says, not in any order, but Silent Night, Deadly Night. Sorry. Don't Open Till Christmas, just recently released by Vinegar Syndrome. Christmas Evil. Halloween 2, a great Halloween movie. One of the best direct sequels for a franchise ever, in my opinion. Halloween 4, Halloween 6, Trick or Treat from 86. Nice. Blood Rage. Yeah, There Will Be Blood. Home Sweet Home and My Bloody Valentine. Some good picks in there. Justin says, if anyone hasn't seen Treevenge, do yourself a favor. It's a short on YouTube. I remember it being hilarious. I haven't seen that one in a long time. Treevenge is hilarious. I love it. There's some Trailer Park Boys actors in it, so I love it even more. Love listening to John Waters drag info out of the director on the commentary. Yeah, that has.
I didn't know he did the commentary. That makes me very interested to pick it up now.
Yeah, the Vinegar Syndrome release of Christmas Evil is amazing.
Okay, I'll have to remember that.
So I don't recall. I can see it right there. Flickering Waves brought up the one that I was going to talk about next. So I will highlight Anna and the Apocalypse. Did you ever get a chance to see that one?
No, it's been on my list for like 3 years now.
So
I think it came out in 2019 or something.
Yeah, 2017. I think
it's
2017.
even older than I thought.
Just barely. Second Sight actually put this out on Blu-ray in the UK, and I saw that release, and somebody linked to it, and I took just a wild leap. I had never heard of it. The cover looked interesting, and I read zombie musical and immediately went, no, this is going to be awful, but I'll check it out anyways. And I loved it. So if you are going to ride the line between comedy and horror, which is already difficult by itself, and add in a musical on top of that, you have to be firing at all cylinders at all times. And Anna and the Apocalypse, I think, nails all of them very well. There are some laugh out loud parts. The horror aspect of it is very well done. But really, to highlight the best part of it, they took the music and seriously tried to make it something that was so well done that it had to be respected. And to take a silly story about zombies and to make it a musical, you're going to get certain fans to check it out just because they like those things. But I really think a movie like this is perfect for bridging the gap between people that have not dove into other genres. And when they find those things that they like zombies or musicals, maybe they'll find out they might also like the other thing. So I love when movies like this get out because it brings people to the genre, but it's just a fun, get a group of friends together, laugh and hang out type of movie. That Anna the Apocalypse rules.
And maybe if I will try, maybe I'll try to get to it for the end of the year then, since it seems like a good one to end on.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
let's see, which one do I want to go with next? Okay, I'll go with this one. Actually, speaking of Vinegar Syndrome, I think they put this out, but this movie's had about 10,000 names. But the one I knew it by from Tubi was Hospital Massacre, which is, I think it's got a Be My Valentine is another name of it. X-Ray is another name of it. I won't lie to anyone and say it's not a pretty like typical slasher. Like it reinvents absolutely nothing. Like even by like 1982, all this stuff had pretty much been done before and probably slightly better at some point. But every bit of it works and it's very comfy, I guess is the word. Like if you like slashers, I don't think you'll find a whole lot to complain about. And I think it works really well as a Valentine's Day movie because there's a better Valentine's Day slasher movie, which we'll probably get to. But this is a solid one as well. Yeah, so that's for Hospital Massacre or the 100,000 names it's also got.
Yeah, the that's the double feature from Vinegar Syndrome is that and Schizoid.
Mm-hmm.
And those films, they must be on the same rights holders because they are always lumped together. Scream Factory did the double feature with X-Ray and Schizoid, so did Vinegar Syndrome. I think a lot of people have overlooked those films for some reason, and I think that if people actually looked into it, they would probably enjoy both of them more than they think they would.
Yeah,
They
like I probably didn't sell it the best, but there's nothing like I like the movie a lot, and it's I can't put anything besides it's just well done. Like everything about it.
It's genuinely a very well made movie. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of, I don't know, a lot of people shit on things that are full of tropes, and it does have a lot of tropes, but the tropes are there for a reason. They worked for a lot of the classics, and this is one that you could throw out there as it's got a lot of unique things, but it does have a lot of tropes, and it pulls them off.
Yeah, I enjoyed it when I watched it. I think I watched it really early this year, and I had a great time with it. I need to pick up Vinegar Syndrome's double feature thing.
Yeah, it's a good release. My next one is an unconventional pick, I think, for a lot of people because the holiday aspect is a very small part of this. But I'm going to go with 2008's Inside.
Oh, good. We can talk about this one together. I also have 2008's Inside on here.
I love the French extreme wave horror that they did, and Inside is really the only one that you can tie directly to a holiday, and that's because the main character is very pregnant and is about to have her child on Christmas Day. It's the story starts on Christmas Eve. She is sitting in her home waiting basically for the time when she's got to go to the hospital, and she hears some noises and goes and takes a picture at her back door and looks at the picture and sees that there's somebody there. And as she goes upstairs and goes to bed and whatnot, she gets attacked, somebody trying to steal her baby.
And while I will say it probably doesn't connect a ton, like I don't know, there's something about pregnancy and Christmas that just kind of goes well together, at least enough to it makes sense why you chose that.
Right.
So yeah, it's I think those guys, I think it was two directors if I'm remembering correctly. I think it's a team of them because they're the ones who did like the Leatherface movie in 2017, which was terrible. They, as far as I could tell, they've never had another great success, but this is definitely the exception. They did awesome. There's tons of creepy stuff in it. Like, I think the problem with like a lot of new French extremity, as much as I like it, is it's never really scary. It's just disturbing. Right. Inside is actually kind of scary, like how well they do it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with the word extreme being thrown around, you have to be aware if you've never seen this that the gore abounds. There is so much blood in this movie and so much very realistic, like skin ripping and scenes that are shocking no matter how you view them. And it does not shy away from a damn thing. And that whole era of French extreme, they never did. But this is maybe the one that is most like personal, I guess. Like it's the one that feels like they were trying to really get in the skin of somebody watching it. And this and maybe Martyrs are the only two that are just like oh my god, like you made this to make me feel gross, and you accomplished that, and it's just so well done.
Yeah, it is, and it's kind of amazing to me looking back on like probably the 4 or 5 biggest titles from New French Extremity that came to the U.S. Aja, who may have arguably had the weakest one of those names, ended up being the biggest name.
Yep.
And I think he had the most consistent career. High Tension has a lot of great elements from it, but it's definitely got some weak elements to it too, which I'm
Yeah,
sure
the
anybody
entire
seen it
third
knows what
act.
they are.
Yeah. All right. So, what number are we on? I think I lost count.
Well, we kind of did that one together, so you can go ahead and go again because technically that was my next one. Was Inside.
All right. I will do a classic here, and I'm going to choose a title that kind of ties into 2 holidays, and I'm going to go with 1972's Tales from the Crypt.
Okay.
I adore anthology films. I think that this is a weird thing to say after the phrase "I adore anthology films," but I think most of them are crap. I think that it is very hard to get a disjointed collection of stories together to feel like a cohesive piece when really you're not necessarily trying to do that when you set out to make these stories. But 1972's Tales from the Crypt has, if I remember right, I think it's 5 shorts in it, and one of them is a Christmas story and one of them is a Valentine story, and they are incredible. It sets the stage for like the actual potential for anthology because they go into depth on how somebody can lose somebody close to them in multiple ways. The shorts in this film, first, have you seen Tales from the Crypt from 72 at all?
I have, and it's been a long time.
It's one that I think a lot of people have shied away from because it's a little older, and a lot of the older anthology films are pretty bad. But this is one I don't really want to spoil because it's one that it hits very hard, and a couple of these stories are, again, like very personal. It feels like the creators set out to make something that meant a lot to them, and it works well on the screen.
Yeah, I think a lot of your early anthologies had a hard time getting away from a Twilight Zone feel. Like
Yes.
it you can't make it not feel like television. How do you make an anthology cinematic?
Yeah.
And I think that was something they really struggled with for a long time.
Absolutely.
And maybe they're getting better. I don't know. Southbound was really good. How many years ago was that?
That had to have been like 2011 or something.
That one was real good. That's the last one I can remember off. I'm sure there's been some other great ones, but that's the last one I remember.
All right, let's hit your next one, and then I'm going to go through the comments again.
Okay, I will go with. I'll go ahead and get my second Larry Cohen out of the way, which also barely counts as a holiday film, but is God Told Me To, which is apparently a St. Patrick's Day film. I don't remember that, but that was a thing that was in the movie. Apparently, I love that movie. It's actually my favorite Larry Cohen film. Wow. I think it's his best work, both from a writing standpoint and
it's top 3 easily.
Yeah, he's just a cool movie. It's very. I don't know what the end is supposed to signify, and I really don't care because it's.
I don't know that Larry knew either.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think he did. But a guy who had a great career, and that's fairly early. I'm not gonna say real early, but it's fairly early in his career. That's his best one, even if it doesn't really tie into the holiday.
I need to see it again. I've not seen the 4K yet. I know that Cue the Winged Serpent would have to be top 3 for me, probably.
That one's a lot of fun too.
And then I got to go with The Stuff, probably up there.
Now, if we don't count his stuff he didn't direct, I love Phone Booth. Phone Booth is one of my favorites.
Cohen is amazing.
He was a fun guy. I never, I even got through Maniac Cop 3, so that says a lot.
All right, let's look at some of these comments. I've let them go for a minute. Horror Guy says, love the Leprechaun movies. Huge part in my growing up, especially 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, those are the 3 I think I watched the most as well. Justin, there are very few musicals that I find enjoyable. Anna and the Apocalypse is a fucking gem. That is high praise. Yeah, completely agree. Horror Guy says, yes, Christmas Evil. And then Terry, the makers of Anna the Apocalypse did a tweet along right as COVID got underway. It was a surprisingly emotional watch. Interesting. Stan, does the Father's Day segment of Creepshow count? Yes, absolutely. Definitely. Horror Guy, I think Creepshow's Father's Day segment does, and I love it. So yeah, of course. Horror Guy, I saw Inside finally in the past couple years, and wow, crazy movie. I loved it. That's good to hear. Have you seen Midnight Cinema? I don't think I watched that one yet. Isn't that
I remember Nightmare Cinema. I think that was an anthology, but I don't remember Midnight Cinema.
You know what? Yeah, I just mixed those two in my head. Nightmare Cinema is the one. It was like
I remember hearing that one was actually pretty good, but I didn't watch Nightmare.
Let's see. Oh, Mick Garris was the writer on that. Oh, directed by Joe Dante and Mick Garris and Alejandro Brugué.
Okay, that's solid names.
Hilton for Cohen wanted to bring up the It's Alive trilogy.
Yep.
Okay, so he did mean Nightmare Cinema. Good.
Okay. I need to watch that. It's actually on my list because I've heard good things about it.
What year is this? 2018. Okay,
yeah,
man, that's already.
It was a Shudder. I think Shudder put it out, if I recall.
That could be. There's some big names in it too, like Mickey Rourke is in it.
Okay.
I think that's the only big.
I think the guy Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson either did something in it, or they may have been actors in it. The guys who did like the Endless and Spring.
Yeah. I haven't seen their new one. I wanted to see that. It's supposed to be good. The one that just came out in 2022.
Something in the Dirt.
That sounds right.
The name of it? Yeah.
All right. Have we done 8 or 9? I had a list of like 14, and I've lost count already.
Let me see how many we got left. I have 2 left.
Okay. So with 2 left, and actually I might have 3 because you went first. I'll go with another one that should be fairly obvious. I'm going to go with Krampus. I think Doherty did a good job with it. I think that it is funny enough to be memorable, and the actual Krampus of it is for younger viewers probably pretty creepy. I think it's a nice addition for him for his holiday stuff, and yeah, it's good. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as Trick or Treat, but I think it's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's kind of that thing that's missing a lot of days, and I talk about it all the time with horror, is horror that's good for kids, like Gremlins. Yep. You know, even as an adult, I can enjoy Gremlins, and I can enjoy Krampus, yep. But how do you get kids into horror anymore? I was like, exactly. Yeah, sure, you can sneak your parents' VHS tapes like we did, but there's got to be a more natural way to do that.
I agree. Yeah, like Gremlins is the perfect bridge, and so is Krampus.
So for mine, I'm going to go for my last one that is questionable for this list, but I'm going to go with it. It is a May Day, because that's a holiday apparently. Holiday one, which was either going to be The Wicker Man or this one, and I went with this one, which is Midsommar.
This is one of my 2.
Oh, Midsommar, great. Yeah, I debated. Because honestly, I think I actually didn't go with it because I was like, I bet he'll pick Wicker Man.
I actually tend to lean towards Midsommar after seeing the director's cut. I'm one of those people that think the director's cut is actually a superior film than the theatrical cut.
I think I understand why, because I think I'm a theatrical purist in this sense, but I think it's a little bit more of a fair look at both of them in the director's cut. But I kind of really like Christian just being an asshole. Like, I enjoy that.
What's odd is I believe, I'd have to check IMDb to make sure, but I think it's the same year that another film that came out that I truly love the director's cut, which usually isn't the case. I'm usually theatrical as well, but that and Dr. Sleep, both of them
is amazing.
Both of the director's cuts added like 20 minutes of exposition that was meaningful and emotional and genuinely added to the story in very important ways. And I get why they cut both of them, because they are both very long movies. But like, first, Flanagan is a freaking brilliant director, and Midsommar is just a solid movie. I really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people like it's cool to hate Ari Aster for some reason. Hereditary and Midsommar get shat on all the time, but I genuinely love Midsommar.
Yeah, and I actually like Midsommar better than Hereditary. I like Hereditary, but I think it's I was at an age, especially in college, where I had a lot of like anxiety and panic disorder and stuff like that. So Danny just really connected with that character a lot more,
Oh yeah.
and I think it messed with me a lot more. I really, and I loved horror in the daylight. Like anytime you can do it in the
Same.
daylight, do it.
Same. Uh, I think we both have the same last one on our list. So should we go into My Bloody Valentine from
Yeah, let's
81?
do it. That was my last one too.
So, first of all, incredible that we got a great release of this from Scream Factory with those cut scenes reinserted.
Mhm.
Um, this movie, this movie is special. In terms of 80s slashers, this one is unique, memorable. Takes some things and runs with them in a way that wouldn't work in a lot of movies, and yet works perfectly in this film. And beyond that, set up a really interesting villain. I love the fact that the miner is terrifying, and this whole town is mystified by it, but it's what the town thrives on, so they're stuck with it. What else is My Bloody Valentine on this list for you for?
I think one thing I love about early 80s slashers is while, yeah, we had, some of the best slashers ever with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Black Christmas, and Halloween. Early 80s, they were trying to figure out what do you steal from these movies. So some
Right.
of them are taking elements that didn't really ever gain any traction, and I think it makes them feel a bit unique. Like, for some reason, they really like the Jolly mystery element, which only sort of Black Christmas had, but they really
Right.
wanted to fill in that Jolly feel to it. I don't know. There's a vibe, I guess is the word with My Bloody Valentine, that I don't think any other film, even its remake, couldn't recreate. It's feels so different as a slasher movie. If as tropey and formulaic as they can be, that one always stuck out as different for me.
It does. And this is another one with how Scream Factory is re-releasing so many films in 4K. I was shocked that we didn't get a 4K announcement for this for February.
I was
Um,
disappointed because I really, really would love one.
it is a wonderful movie, and I hope that Scream Factory, considering they've done the release on it now, and the director was on Shockwaves, the podcast that is now defunct. He was on there basically saying this will those edits that we talked about previously, they will never see the light of day because they're lost. And within a couple months of being on that podcast, they were found. Scream Factory, they took it, they restored it immediately and got it in there, and we got that release literally less than a year after he said that. So it is amazing that we're getting stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mean, Scream Factory will always have its faults, but I do give them credit for a lot of things of trying to find some of this stuff. Like, I'm sure they were just as disappointed as everyone when Event Horizon they couldn't find it, and I'm
Right.
sure they put in more work than most people had ever tried.
I would agree there, and they've got the connections, so
Yeah.
they probably did a lot to get it. And actually, I did want to shout out one thing with this. I'm not sure if you are as crazy about it as I am, but I brought something down to show,
Okay.
just in case people didn't know about it. This was, what is the company name? Stop the Killer is the name of a game company that has released this, which is the Silent Night, Deadly Night, the game.
Cool.
But they also just did earlier this year a fundraiser for a My Bloody Valentine game, and they reopened the fundraiser for it right now. So you can go in there and get a copy of it at, I believe it's stopthekiller.com. And I cannot wait to get that game in because I love that game or that movie so much.
Yeah, and the remake doesn't really like live up to it at all, but I still like it.
Yeah, it was fun.
For some of the it was actually shot in 3D, and I think it makes a huge difference.
It really does.
I do want to note that the My Bloody Valentine, the game, is out of stock at the moment.
Ah, damn.
Because I just went to check. Hopefully, it'll go back in stock.
Damn. Eventually, it should be available at least somewhere. The Silent Night, Deadly Night game, they just put out some more of those on Fright Rags like a week ago. So, yeah, they're still out there and doing things, and they're talking about doing more games. So I would keep an eye on them if you are into it.
Halloween 2 was listed as like the front of their page when I went on it. So I guess they're going to do something with that.
Nice. Let's see. Jeremy Long says, I hope it's as fun as the Black Christmas game, which is just Harvey Weinstein prank calling you and saying dirty sex stuff. Wow. Let's get into some honorable Jesus fuck. Honorable mentions or things that are like adjacent to some of these holidays. Any that you wanted to shout out that we're not going to go into quite as deep before we call it a night?
Since it didn't show up, I'll shout out Wicker Man. I like Wicker Man. I like both Wicker Mans actually, for very, very distinct and different reasons.
Yeah, I love the original Wicker Man, and Justin Robbins says you can still get it here, and usually YouTube doesn't, in live chats they don't like people posting links, so you may want to like spell the word and then write dot and then the word com after, and then everybody will know where to get it, and I will highlight that for sure. Yeah, love Wicker Man. The remake is funny. It is very funny.
Yeah.
But I love the original one. Some of the ones that I had on adjacent holidays or good ones to call out. So obviously, April Fool's Day, got to shout it out for April Fool's Day. I think it's a good movie. I think that I have liked it less as the years have gone on. I don't know why necessarily, because it's acted fairly well. And obviously the reveal at the end of that back in the day must have been crazy. You probably did not see anything like that coming.
Yeah, I guess it's hard in a very postmodern horror world. Like going back to that, you're like, okay, it feels more a part of that than
right
where it's actually located.
True that. Some of the other ones, New Year's, we got Bloody New Year, New Year's Evil, Terror Train. All of them are at least okay. Bloody New Year is probably my favorite out of those three. New Year's Evil is just odd, and I've never been huge on Terror Train.
No, I actually hate Terror Train. I even watched the 2022 one, and I was like, you know what? They can improve this movie. Still didn't.
Yikes. I was trying to be silly and made a Mother's Day list. So I said Mother's Day, Carrie, The Babadook, Grace, Inside, The Eyes of My Mother, and Rosemary's Baby. Perfect Mother's Day movies.
And the only one you missed was Serial Mom.
Touche. Let's see. For Father's Day, I tried to do the same. We got Mom and Dad, the Nick Cage movie.
That's great.
Eraserhead, The Stepfather, The Shining, Sinister, great Father's Day movie. The Hills Have Eyes, 28 Days Later, The Mist, A Quiet Place, Train to Busan, and The Autopsy of Jane Doe.
I forgot. Okay, I didn't even think about Autopsy of Jane Doe.
It's an interesting one. It's a father and son film. Let's see. What other ones do I want to throw
I do want to shout out something I tried to justify during the first snow of the year. I will always watch The Thing. It's not quite a Christmas movie, but it kind of feels that way because it's always around Christmas.
Yeah, it's I get that, and it's more like a winter solstice film. Let's run with that.
Yeah, we can go with that.
It is, yeah, it's a very December movie. I can see that. What else did I have on here? I tried to be cheeky, and for Labor Day, I have the film Mayhem. A lot of fun with Stephen Yeun. Compliance, nasty film.
That one fucks with me. That one,
Yep.
that one's hard.
Another one that fucks with me, Starry Eyes. Did you ever see Starry Eyes?
Yes.
Love Starry Eyes.
It's very, I don't want to call it Mulholland Drive, but it feels like a more accessible Mulholland Drive.
Oh, easily, yeah. Let's see. Another obvious one, and I probably should announce it a little bit, but for 4th of July, Jaws. It's a classic. It's a perfect summer film. It's a perfect 4th of July film. It's not that scary nowadays necessarily, but I get why it was, and I think it's nearly a perfect film. Another one I tried to be cheeky about, Columbus Day. I have The Nightingale, Poltergeist, Amityville Horror, and Bone Tomahawk.
Oh, Bone Tomahawk's great. Love that movie to pieces.
For Veterans Day, like I said, Jacob's Ladder and The Prowler.
The Prowler, okay. I don't like The Prowler, but I respect it on a list.
Thanksgiving, obviously, Blood Rage. Everybody's got to talk about that one. For Christmas, one that Jeremy mentioned in the comments that I wanted to make sure got a good shout is Better Watch Out. I liked that way more than I expected. I think that it took the let's have a twist on top of a twist kind of feeling in a way that it works, and genuinely compelling movie.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. It's another one of those. It's colorful. It's fun. It doesn't feel too bleak.
And then the last one that I will throw out here is Day of the Beast. That is the one that was released by Severin on 4K. It is a very good, interesting film, and I think that it was one that I didn't expect to like as much as I did, so it's kind of stuck with me, but I've always loved Alex de la Iglesia stuff, so I love Day of the Beast.
The last one I'll shout out is one my friend, if she ever by any chance watches this, we got drunk and watched a movie called President's Day on Tubi. It is awful, but it was the best drunk night I ever had watching a movie. It's quoted all the time.
I think I remember the poster for that, but I don't think I've ever seen it. Interesting. Jeremy is now spanning all kinds of stuff. Let's see. Are you trying to beat my disconnected stream? He absolutely is not. Zach's probably gonna want to go to sleep soon. Sinister doesn't get enough love. Mayhem is so much fun. Love Samara Weaving.
I love Samara. Yeah, she's great.
Starry Eyes is another one that doesn't get enough love. Agreed. Another great horror movie is that new one that Taylor Swift just directed. Is that a
legit thing?
No, I was about to say, is that a reference I'm not getting? He says the Emoji Movie was terrifying. Horror guy, top 3 Larry Cohen for me is Q, The Stuff, and The Ambulance. I need to watch The Ambulance again.
I own it, and I still haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And Larry Cohen is one of those people that his movies are, they're far from perfect, obviously, but they're like that own genre that they're like infinitely rewatchable because you tend to grab something different every time that you watch one of them.
And they're very earnest. Like, yeah, we can talk about the effects, but it's an earnest attempt to be serious. Yep. Like, it's awesome for me.
I mean, anybody that is willing to risk it all to hire a bunch of cops to go film without a permit at the top of the Empire State Building deserves so much fucking credit.
Oh man, gotta rewatch you.
Jeremy says Taylor Swift did just direct a movie, but it's not a horror movie. That was just me making a joke, and now I've ruined it. You're welcome. She directed a movie. That's
honestly
weird.
I would watch the hell out of Taylor Swift directing a horror movie just to see what it'd be like.
Didn't the last time you were on here, didn't we talk about Taylor Swift that time too?
We probably did. I don't know. She's getting brought up somehow.
Oh man, if my sister watches the replay, she's gonna go crazy for this. That's amazing. Jokes are way better when you have to explain them. You're welcome. This was very successful then because we have killed that joke. I think that's all we got. Zach, my friend, They Live by Film. Great work. Zach was wonderful tonight. He and 2 of his friends, Chris, who's been on the channel very few, 3 or 4 times, and then Adam doesn't ever do anything. They do incredible stuff. They have wonderful discussions, and then they also interview a lot of great people, just like we do on this channel. If you want to, please go subscribe, download some of them. They all 3 are just earnest about what they talk about and wonderful people, and I love them all. But just what Hilton said is exactly what I was about to transition to. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody, and that includes the ones that I talk about at the end of all these, which is all of the patrons. Thank you all so much. We've got the VIP supporters and members who are all supporting more than they know, just being a part of this. And if you are interested, a link for that is in the description below. And Zach, anything else you want to shout out?
So the only thing I'll say is I appreciate everyone for listening. Anyone who, we're doing our wrap up for They Live by Film. It will be out in a week and a day. You can listen to all the bad takes I had throughout the year. They are fantastic. And we have the interview with Fran just came out.
It's really good.
Last week. And I wanted to note this for you, Ryan. we were just talking about this, that we actually had to change up our interview for Fran because yours was so good that we're like, how do we make a different sort of interview for that? So that was a lot of fun. Definitely,
It was very successful.
Yeah, it was. I'm glad we got a lot of information. Fran's great to talk to, so that's the important part. And then next year we will be hopefully working on a YouTube channel, so we will have a little bit more of different content next year.
Nice. I have loved so many of your guys' interviews, and they are genuinely really great companion pieces to a lot of the things that I've done. And you can tell, just like what Zach just said about the Fran interview, I tend to do the same. I try to listen to the They Live by Film and go, okay, I don't want to talk about the same thing. Let's go something next to it that gets more information, maybe goes deeper now that people have had time with this interview or time with releases or something like that, and see if we can get something new out in the world. And it's nice. It's nice that we're able to all work together and be friends and just make good stuff. So thank you. Thank all of you watching. Thank all of you in the comments. And next Thursday, I will say, is going to be interesting. It is just going to be me on purpose. I have a handful of things I wanted to bring up and talk about just as a end of the year thing. And some of them would have been awkward to sit and chat with a guest as they sit here silently and watch me ramble for a little while. So I chose to make last Thursday just me. But other than that, we've got a lot of stuff coming up. So if you can, next Thursday, I'd love to have you live again. And from Two Collectors to all of you, hope you all have a good night, safe holidays. And if you're traveling, it's rough out there for a lot of people, so be safe. See you next time.
See ya.